Hello, and before you get started on this episode of Zapped to the Past, we would just like to say thank you to the following people: Andy Marsh, Cole Hutchinson, David Hearn, Sven Oser, 2000 DC, Gary Heather, Roger McNally, Joshua Dove, Mark Fletcher, Etienne Wettingfield, Niall Bullitt, Alexander Gosling, Tim TJ Walker, Phil Sowerby, Joshua K, Dominic Kendrick, Rune P, Steve Perrant, Nick James, Daniel Spreadbury, Peter Price, Richard Davey, Johan Rupstad-Leah, Dennis Breakhouse, AL82 Retro, and Liam Carew. These awesome people have chosen to back our Patreon at the C64 tier, and we are hugely appreciative of the support they offer. If you want to join them and get a mention in next month's shoutout, access to our Discord server, and any special releases that we put out, and other cool stuff, then sign up by the 18th of the month at patreon.com/zapped to the past for little more than the price of a pint of beer. It helps us keep playing the games so you don't have to. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to episode 81 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills and I'm joined as always by Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last time we looked at our first batch of games from issue 35 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and were damned by demon stalkers. We growled at Garfield and we liquefied our innards, God Lord, at the Little Green Man. This week we continue our look at the games in March 1988, along with what was also going on in UK albums that month. So Graham, inform us of the order of events for this week.
In this large outdoor adventure and country pursuit shop, selling brass duck horns, horse leg walking sticks, tweed and hessian underpants and knickers, a 30-tog three-piece duvet winter suit, and a climber's mint cake so packed with sugar your teeth will dissolve, of an episode. We admire some jaw-dropping graphics and fab sounds while also spitting curses at the difficulty level in the always supremely challenging IO. Ingest some roids, grab our best fur thong and oversized sword, and then blindly amble the streets of California looking for music chords in the dreary Masters of the Universe, the movie. Spend all 12 of our money in an attempt to win nothing whatsoever in the vacant and tonally jagged Fruit Machine Simulator, and go on a monochromatic quest to find our motorbike parts and concert tickets before John steals our girlfriend in the outright depressing Sidewalk. If that can of English breakfast, Swiss Army sporks, Packers tent and toilet and bag of thermal mints hasn't awakened your inner lumberjack, we also head into familiar sidearm scrolling shoot-'em-up territory with the decidedly interesting, if derivative, Zybex. Head into more familiar top-down shooting territory, this time piloting the nearly brand Xevious clone fighter craft of Point X. Explore the moral dilemmas and integrity of no one we know or care about in the game that misses the point completely, A Question of Scruples, before finally getting a good old-fashioned dose of decent graphics and brilliant music, even on a budget, with the fantastic Battle Valley. Once again, we see pointless games drifting their way back into our collective transom. Be gone, you funny little turds. Be gone.
That sounds marvellous, maybe.
Delicious.
Delicious.
What a tasty beverage.
The sampling shall be legendary.
Do you mind if I wash that down with a sip of your beverage?
Why, no, sir. Help yourself.
Aye. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, we're into March. We're going to look at stuff. We looked at the cover, didn't we, last time?
We did, the one with the moon and, not the moon, the astronaut on the front with the reflection of the
I guess it must be on the moon, I think.
Well, it had a moon on it. I think it had a moon in it.
Oh, yeah. Who knows where they were. Anyway, yeah. So, you got anything you want to say at this point, or should we just get into some games?
No, let's just get into the games. We may as well.
They're a interesting bunch this week.
Yeah, they're a strange bunch in the whole of March, really. It's 1988's proved to be quite a challenging year, so let's just see what there has to so far.
Yeah. Speaking of challenging, let's get into our first one, shall we?
Aye.
All right, here we go. Hi ho. This is the dwarves' favourite game, isn't it? Sorry. Hi ho. Hi ho. Hi ho.
There's definite tumbleweeds for that.
It's into oblivion we go.
Yes, it is.
Indeed. IO. We're getting into IO. Into oblivion is where we're going. It's $8.95, 80%. I should have noted who released it. It's Firebird, isn't it? It's Firebird game.
It's Firebird, yeah.
Firebird. Did it fire turd? We shall find out. Probably not. It's not. IO. It's got quite a reputation, hasn't it, IO? Yep. Anyway, there are some simple truths about IO. It looks amazing. It has amazing presentation. It's just too damn hard. Next.
Yes.
Let's go. That's it.
Yeah.
So IO, or Into Oblivion. Yes, it stands for Into Oblivion, as it stands for. £9 from Firebird, who must have thought all their Christmases had come at once when this dropped into their lap, I can imagine. From some of the other stuff they must have been presented. Like Nebulous before it, this is from an unknown at the time. Coding by Douglas Hare. His first game, and one of only two he did for the C64. His second being Exterminator in 1991. But he did go on to work on lots of other stuff as well. But for the C64, he did two games, though. This is the first. It's got graphics by Bob Stevenson as well. Is Doug's Hare demo person or anything? Is he...
No, it's just straight into games.
All right, because it's got graphics by Bob Stevenson as well, so it's just where they would meet. I don't know. Yes, those of Bob Stevenson of incredible demo visuals. He did lots of pictures, didn't he, for CompuNet? I think Bob Stevenson. He was that person, wasn't he? Did loads of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, whatever the background of this, there's no doubt in the coding and visual chops on display here. This is polished and smooth and looks phenomenal throughout. You can't get away from that. This looks the business. There's not much of a story to this beyond the simple fact that some kind of alien monsters have invaded some region of space and you have to go and sort them out in your spaceship. There you go. It's simple and effective. It's a side-scrolling shooter in the vein of Nemesis and Synapse before it. The game loads, and there's a decent Dave Whittaker piece for once. Not annoying, not short. This is actually quite a decent bit of tune, actually. It's a little more sci-fi and tuneful than his usual 3-second loops. Reminded me of that one he did for that Pickford Brothers game, which was also quite good.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
Yeah, when he sets his mind to it, he can do a decent sci-fi tune, Whittaker. So it's quite interesting. I quite like this. As a sample,
sounds like that was written on his school report.
Probably was. Dave Whittaker.
He's terrible at English, but he can do a mean soundtrack when he puts his mind to it.
Absolutely. It'll go a long way. Snap. There's a sample of incredibly well-drawn landscape, also scrolling past with the title of the game front and centre. At the bottom fifth of the screen is the UI as well. It's just there. The UI never moves. It's just always there at the bottom of the screen. Title screen, in-game. There's the UI.
There it is.
Shows the scores of either player and the high score. That's it, really. It's all you need. Number of lives as well. Yes, this layout stays true when you start the game, but it's no bad thing as the landscape. There's a nice... When the music changes, when the music finishes, it kind of fades to black and the landscape changes. So you can kind of get a sense of the different levels you'll be progressing through. And they all look great. They really do. From sci-fi installations, arid red landscapes, jungle-esque environments. Bob Stevenson's work here is brilliant. It's really well done. It's really good. If you can move the joystick to the right, and that selects a two-player game. And I quite like the way that does that because that sort of fills in the two-player box in the UI
clever.
at the bottom. It's nice. It's a really nice UI usage. Move it to the left, and it just disappears back because it's just into a one-player game. That's really nice. Pressing the fire button starts the game, and it's here, right here, the pain starts. The pain. Oh, the pain. Oh, the pain of it all. The pain.
Oh, the pain, the pain.
So the game starts with a portentous music stab that you'll hear a lot.
Dun, 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 dun.
And don't get me wrong, it's really good. All this is great, and you drop from the belly of a dropship into the level. The presentation is great. However, instantly you feel too slow. And you shoot just one bullet, so you feel underpowered, like, okay. Also, instantly, ground emplacements fire directly at you, and a wide arcing wave of enemies zooms in pretty much too fast for you to dodge. So you die again, and die again, and it's game over. Took me about 4 seconds, I think, of actual playtime.
Until I figured out how you do it, then once I figured it out, I was like, but
you
loads of times I died.
Dun 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 dun. Like okay, it's tough.
You hear that a lot.
Yeah, okay, it's tough. You start again. You take out the ground targets to get to the top of the screen, but you'll probably die then because you won't get to the top of the screen because one of them you won't shoot them enough, so you'll die again. You'll try again. You'll take out the ground targets, then manage to get to the top of the screen around the wave. Take out the top one. There's another ground target at the top because there's at level, it's like Nemesis, which is bits to level at top and bottom. So you're going through the first level is the sort of sci-fi based thing. So there's things at the top and things at the bottom. you'll move down to try and get to the power-up, but a fast-moving wave moves in, and you die again. So,
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. Back to the beginning, drop out the drop sheet, repeat your moves, manage to avoid the second wave, and get to the power-ups. So the power-ups in this come in 3 varieties. If you just fly into them, they're smart bombs. They destroy everything on screen, including enemy bullets, which is one of the game's only concession to helping you out, because that is useful.
Truth.
Not every game destroys enemy bullets, does it, with a smart bomb?
No, very good it is.
Yeah, damn useful. If you shoot them, though, 4 times, why it has to be 4 times, I don't know, maybe because, whatever, they turn into an extra bullet. So you can have an extra bullet on screen, so you can shoot twice. That's quite good. If you collect a second one of these, you can have 3 bullets firing at once, and that's your limit with bullets. If at that point, so more of these appear as you go through the level, so they kind of appear, and they always kind of appear in the same place. So these are levels to learn. I'll say that now. You have to learn this game. You have to learn where to be, at which point, where to be on the screen, where to shoot, where to move. Because if you don't, you're dead. Because you don't move fast enough. So you have to learn exactly where to be. Once you've shot those, if you've got 3 bullets at once, shooting them turns them into orbs, which then track your craft Nemesis style. So it's like the extra orbs in Nemesis that will fly around you and then follow you. You can get 2 of them, and they will follow you around. Beyond that, the power-ups just give bonus points if you shoot them 4 times. So at that point, just use them as smart bombs, I guess. Remember, yes, you can always use them as smart bombs, though. Anyway, should you make it past this, then we get, if you're into this point, you'll start getting moving land enemies that scroll back and forth and move really fast and fire faster bullets at you. If the others weren't enough, these fire faster bullets at you. So now you have enemies that fire slow bullets, which kind of corner you in, and then one that fires fast bullets, which are to do you in, because you can't move out of the way because the slow bullets attract you. Because everything fires at you. It's just at you. Everything's at you. So they're also, these land enemies, they move along hidden behind raised bits of the landscape. So if you fly into the landscape, you die. But you can fly slightly into the landscape, but it's never quite clear how much. So you kind of
not that much.
Because it's digital, you kind of go, oh, can I get dead? Oh.
Yeah, dun.
Yeah. So they're bullets spewing at you. You get rockets taken off when we get near them. Laser gates activate. And then if you manage to get past that, there's a screen-filling centipede that spins around madly.
It's bloody amazing.
Before heading off. It really is. I mean, don't get me wrong, all this looks incredible, but, you'd be too busy dying to notice a lot of it. You can't kill this centipede. You've got no chance. You're just going to try and avoid it. Because the lack of speed, lack of firepower you have. I did manage to get the full complement of power-ups at one point. And again, this is probably the second concession, in that contact with a bullet or alien wipes out one of the floating orbs instead of you. So you kind of get, you can take some hits at that point, but it's just dead hard to actually get back to getting orbs again. It's just, for God's sake. Everything going on, though, as soon as I lost a couple, I was dead. Dead again in seconds. But it does have checkpoints, but it has checkpoints that just put you right in the way of really fast-moving enemies that's just zooming on you.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'd rather have the dun, 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 rather than I'll spawn you here dead. Oh, God's sake. And it also does that classic annoying thing that we've said about in so many of these kind of games. When you die, you're back to the basic weapon. No triple shot, not even a double shot, just pew, pew. So, of course, you're dead in moments because you've not got, you're further into the level and you haven't got the power to actually shoot anything anymore. It's game over. Just, you're done. So at this point, you put the joystick down and you have to consider whether you want to keep playing. Just one thing I forgot to mention in the Sidearms review, where we talked about Sidearms last episode, that game doesn't kill you when you fly into the landscape, it just stops you. So the ground or the top of the tunnels, if you crash some of the stuff sticking up, but a lot of it just don't kill you. So that's good. That was one of the things I did like in that, and I do like that in Sidearms. All you have to worry about in that game is the enemies and the bullets, which is enough. Here we have enemies very close to the ground, which you generally have to go partially into in order to shoot, but go too far, it's kaboom, goodbye to any power-ups you may have had. And there's all kinds of stuff, and there's everything whizzing about. There's too much. There's too many things in this game, and you don't have, once again, we've said it before, we've said it again, we'll say it again, I'm sure. You just don't have the firepower, the movement ability to get away from all this stuff, I found. And it does become like just it's not a reaction fest, it's a memory test, like we said about Delta.
Yeah.
So it's like we said about Delta, technical marvel. It's a technical marvel without being play tested by any bugger. Brought it in, probably sat there in front of everyone and went, this is how you play it. Look, they went, oh, it's amazing, put it out. Without anyone else sitting down and going, this is too hard. It's too hard, man. What have you done? Now, I'm sure it is possible to get through this to the end. I'm sure it is. I'm sure if I went on YouTube, I could find a long play of some very, very talented person getting their way through this, but not me. No, it's too hard. It feels punitive when others, other games feel welcoming. Even Nemesis gave you power-up craft to shoot when you died in order to get back to where you were. Not as many, only gave you a couple, unlike the arcade game, which gives you loads. But there's none in this. You're just screwed. When you die, you're dead, and you will be dead, and you will die. So you've got no chance. You can't get back to where you were power-wise because you move too slow. You haven't got enough firepower, and you've lost your drones. You're done for. So, yeah, it's got checkpoints, okay, but like I said, they're worthless when they put down to the basic weaponry, which is barely enough to survive the start of the game. I really want, I've always wanted to like this game, IO. It looks and sounds great. The sprite design and backgrounds are amazing. The music is lovely. Everything's great about this. It wouldn't look too out of place. Bit of sprucing up in an arcade. This, it's got a really arcade vibe to it. It's just too punishing. Like Light Force, it's only got 4 levels, but Light Force felt achievable. This just feels like you're constantly underpowered for what it is coming at you, and that soon turns the game from a challenge to an annoyance to a frustrating experience. And all the great graphics in the world, unfortunately, cannot save it from that. And that's a great shame, because with a bit of playtesting, a bit of player affordance, this could have been an all-time classic on the C64. As it is, it's a great looker and a technical tour de force, but as a thing to play, it's just too punishing, and you just don't. There's not enough reward for the amount of effort you've really got to put into it. So there you go. That's what I thought of IO. It's what I've always thought of IO. It's what I thought of it back then when I had 14-year-old or 15-year-old reflexes. But God knows, 50-year-old now, God knows. No chance. What about you? How did you feel?
All the same issues, really. I mean, it's very impressive visually, this. Definitely be a contender, I don't doubt, for the sort of best visuals when we come to awards time. I mean, it's such a technical bunch of, crazy voodoo going on under the hood here, complex, massive, multiplex sprites and graphics, and there's such stuff going on. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah,
I mean, you name it. I think there's a trick or a Vic chip, trickery going on in here somewhere, because there's just some amazing stuff. It's just so freaking hard. I mean,
yep.
You take it for what it is, which is a technical tour de force, fine. The issue is difficulty here. It always was. This is a game that's known for its stupid levels of difficulty. So obviously, as you say, you need to upgrade your ship fast, but you can't. You need to upgrade it better than you do, but you can't. You start off underpowered, as you do in a lot of these games, but that isn't going to help you here. You quickly realise that some of these enemies, you don't have to shoot them. You've just got to get out of the frigging way. Because if you don't, you're dead, and then you're going to hear the dun 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 dun, and that becomes a reminder to you of your own stupidity for not remembering where you needed to be at any given moment. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem, really, here, isn't it? This is no more a shoot 'em than any other. This is a memory test. And if you've got a good memory, and eventually, I mean, I've seen people play Ikaruga and do the same sort of thing, and that becomes a little bit of a memory test. You need to know where you line your ships up and where you don't, and all the rest of it. And fine, okay. And it is that, and you could never say to anyone, I got quite far in IO. I got as far as I could possibly get with human reflexes. So I got maybe got as powered up as I could probably get to. Never made it off level 1, I can tell you that. I got to the boss at the end and saw all of the, and some of the visuals, and then I took a trip to YouTube because I wanted to see what some of the other level visuals are like, and they're just mind-blowingly good. Especially the final boss thing that you see. I think it's the final boss. Just mind-blowing, the graphics that are on display on that full screen of beautifully shaded pixel art with all the 20, 30 sprites flying around at any given moment. It's just mind-bogglingly good.
Yep.
I doubt that many people have ever seen it without some kind of extensive cheats. I didn't apply cheats to this. I could have. I think the version that's out there by Remember has got a few unlimited lives and that. But what's the point in doing that with this? I suppose if you want to see the end. But I just went to YouTube, and it might have even been AL, our Patreon, AL22 is one of his, I think.
AL82.
AL82, I think it was one of his. Sorry, AL22. I don't know who you are, but AL82 is one I think.
He's an inferior model.
It's like the T1000 and the T800. It's like you never had human skin, the early ones. The new one does, obviously. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, IO, too hard to really enjoy. It's a pity, isn't it? I think it looks great, as you say, and it looks and sounds great, but it's masking cheap design. I think the game design got lost in here, and you forget that you're making a shooter for actual humans to play, and not for mindless automatons from another world that have the reflexes of speed, and and it's no. This would be hard for Tron, so it's no good for me.
Yeah, don't hide as well. Don't hide enemies behind sticking up bits of geometry where. Of landscape where you have to sort of get around them, where they're shooting at you really fast as soon as they come on screen. So you can't. No. You can't. No. And you don't shoot fast enough.
There was a moment when I was playing this, and I'd got past the first erratic display, and then I shot the ground turrets quickly, and I got the first few power ups. I'm thinking, I'm doing all right here. And then came along 2 sprites that go beep, 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 and just fire like 20 bullets at you from there's 2 of them. And I was like, no.
They come from behind, don't they? Or,
one from behind, one in the front. Beep, 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 beep. And I'm like, I'm trying to navigate past through these bullets. I'm like, I'm not fast enough at all. So I'm like, no, it's never going to happen. I was like, damn you, IO. And
then just as you get past them, there's a sneaky little rocket at the bottom just to come up and get you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're not doing well in this game.
And then a laser fence.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
Yes, difficult to penetrate this game. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a technical tour de force, but it's not a game to enjoy.
It's not. It's not a game I enjoyed, apart from looking at it. It's not for playing, it's for looking at.
We've said that before about another one.
We have, and this is the same.
Steptoe was oh so correct.
He was.
And he always will be. There you go. That's IO. Hi ho, hi ho. It's off to never play that game again. I go. All right, let's move on. Let's move along from IO and into our next one. Graham, you have the pleasure once again of visiting the planet Eternia, or not in this case, and telling us all about Masters of the Universe, the movie.
From Gremlin Graphics. Yes.
Can't tell, can you?
No, not at all. Coded by Christian Shrigley. He did Action Fighter, Bounder 1 and 2, Gauntlet 2, Bulldog, Future Night. Graphics are by Terry Lloyd. He did Action Fighter, Bounder 1 and 2, Gauntlet 2, Bulldog, Future Night. And the design is by Rob Toon. He later does Rick Dangerous. Interestingly, that. Interesting. Musician here, of course, Mr. Ben Daglish. So this is the game based on the Masters of the Universe film. The film, which was released in 1987 and starred Dolph Lundgren, Frank Langella, and Courtney Cox. Strange. The story of the game more or less follows the film, more or less. Okay. So we start on Eternia, and, well, we don't start on Eternia, but let's just set the scene. Eternia. Skeletor has captured Castle Grayskull and stuck the sorceress in a dungeon, which is not nice. But how did he do that? No. Turns out that Evil Lyn, who's one of his compadres, had stolen a cosmic key that was invented by a locksmith called Gwildor. Just a note, don't hire locksmiths who can make cosmic keys. Just saying. The device can be used to create magic portals to anywhere with the use of special musical chords. And I don't mean cloth chords like trousers. I mean musical sounds and notes. And so Evil Lyn and Skeletor create a sneaky back...
I've worn some musical chords in my time.
I bet. So Evil Lyn and Skeletor create a sneaky backdoor into Castle Grayskull and invade. Of course, that doesn't go unnoticed by He-Man and his chums, who promptly try and turf old Scallywag and his gang of knobheads out. Unfortunately, they are quickly overwhelmed. And this is why you should always make 2 cosmic keys, by the way, if you ever wondered about cosmic keys. They use the backup other prototype key that Gwildor had handily made to quickly get away from the invasion. Unfortunately, the malfunctioning prototype portal they make transports them to 1980s USA.
Handy, that.
Handy. Well, not so handy for old He-Man. He-Man finds himself lost on Earth, as far as he's aware, out of his time, without a cosmic key, which was lost in transit. And worst of all, Adrian, he is in very unforgiving animal print for underpants. Terrible. Not good, that. Not good.
Pure lino.
Pure. I say it's just, he just appears in front of people in his pants. All right. He-Man's Eternian chums, Gwildor, of course, the key maker here, or the cosmic key maker, and Teela, have also fallen through the portal and are also strewn around somewhere. They're just around. The cosmic key has also landed in the hands of an Earth student that, thinking it's a musical instrument, plays it, triggering an intergalactic alarm in Skeletor's office. That ain't good either. You don't want to do that.
It's stupid. It
is stupid. So the cosmic key is triggered by musical chords. Okay, now we know that. And to return to Castle Grayskull and to end this skelly torment. Yeah. You play as He-Man. You play as He-Man in this game and wander the flick screen, scrolly sometimes environments, looking for and collecting the 8 magic chords for the cosmic key that will trigger the opening of the portal, so you can head back to Castle Grayskull and massively kick off. That's the plan. He-Man is controlled with the joystick. And as you wander around the flick screen place looking for chords, musical chords, you'll encounter some of Skeletor's henchmen or hench people. Let's not gender stereotype these people. Let's not do that. Which you can shoot at. shoot them. You shoot dots at them. He's got a magic sword. He's He-Man. He's got a magic sword. But then I thought about it. I thought, actually, if you're on another planet and you shout by the power of power of Grayskull, you could say power of Gayskull if you want. Power of Grayskull. Not much is going to happen. Not much is going to happen, is it? Anyway.
No.
Your energy in the game is represented by 4 sword icons that eventually erode away as you take hits, etc. If you run out of those energy, you lose a life. You've got 5 lives, and if you lose those, of course, well, you're a He-Man, ex-He-Man. As you wander around, you can and will need to activate a map with the spacebar, though it's of actual little use since it displays only pathways and a couple of dots, one of which is you.
The other is where you started.
Anyway, this map is to help you navigate. Okay. Oddly, and for reasons I'm completely unsure of, the way you navigate is stupid and weird, to say the least.
Yes.
You essentially walk left and right to rotate the screen you are on 90 degrees, counterclockwise or clockwise. You can then go up or down, which scrolls according to which direction you want to go. It's disconcerting and weird on the brain and makes what should be very straightforward very painful. No wonder He-Man gets lost on Earth so easily, if that's how they navigate things on Eternia. Anyway. Also, you'll periodically get messages from Tila and Gwildor telling you to be at certain locations, such as the scrapyard or Charlie's Electronics, neither of which you'll know where they are, because they're not indicated on any map or anywhere you've been.
Yeah.
So you don't know where to go, which is kind of daft. And that's for maximum inconvenience, they're not actually indicated on anything useful, like a map. The magic cords only appear when you have killed specific enemies, not that you'll know how many you have to kill or which type, and only in certain locations as well. And there is actually a larger sort of side-on section when you get to the electronics store, if you do happen upon it by accident. And there's even a flying disc section where you climb on board some kind of flying surfboard, sort of fly around, all designed to make your endless journey around this dull brown, purple and grey city more interesting, which, apart from anything else, it doesn't actually do. Okay.
Nope.
Graphically, this opens up with a nice title screen logo and what looks like a good He-Man sprite. Of course, that's not what's in the game. Instead, you have a tiny Gauntlet-inspired main sprite that scuttles around an endless series of samey-looking, dull and boring-coloured city streets. You are hassled endlessly, of course, and will constantly need to flick between the map and playing to get anywhere. The music is passable, but it's nothing like the He-Man cartoon or the film, from what I could gather, and the sound effects are about as bland as you could hope for. There is little to no excitement in this game, that is clearly using the same engine as Death Wish 3 and possibly some of the other engines because of the way that these weird navigation works, which is akin to, if you think about it, Death Wish 3.
It was, yes, very much so.
It's not good. This game, not good. I mean, the film wasn't anyway, and pretty much bankrupted the film studio that produced it, so that's not what you'd call the great foundation for a quality game anyway. But this is dull, boring, bland graphics, dull sound, dreary game design, which is essentially wander around and find stuff. This is He-Man. Is a giant underpant-wearing muscular, bodybuilder from another planet.
Yep.
That's pretty exciting. What I've just described is more exciting than anything you'll do with this game. Anything. The fact that he faces a enemy that is completely blue and has a head that is a skull. That's quite exciting. And there could be fighting in between those things. That's quite exciting, that. And I know the film doesn't have all those things in it, but just because it's tied to the film license, they could have done it differently, but they didn't do that. What you have here is it's almost like a Gauntlet-esque type vibe about this, but a Gauntlet-esque vibe that's rubbish. And that's not saying much. It's unexciting. It's tedious. Just let it die. This film pretty much killed the Masters of the Universe license, and I can only imagine Mattel are still angry about this right now. So there's probably people who are still working at Mattel. If you mention this game, like, for God's sake, don't mention that game. Told you about that. No, he's just stroking his cosmic key at that point, going, I'm going to go back to the 80s and change things. So, no, I thought this was crap. This was no Masters of the Universe that I recognised at all. Silly thing. Silly thing indeed. Why didn't they use that sprite that's on the title screen, Aid? I don't get it. So that was a good-looking little He-Man sprite, that. You could have animated that if you had the skills of animation. Don't give it to the person that did this game, because he doesn't have that. So, but there you go. That was my take. Crap. What about you?
Yeah, what good is a map with nothing on it?
It ain't a map. When is a map not a map?
When it's just a series of lines and a dot. That tells me nothing. I need a location. I need to know where these places are to head towards them. Also, what good is a game that turns you 90 degrees but doesn't really explain why? It took me ages to figure out that that's what I was doing.
I know.
I was like, what? Because when you turn, you're suddenly in the middle of another intersection. I was like, how have I got there? I walked off the left. What has this horror got to do with Masters of the Universe? and it, wander boring streets being shot at by constantly and inexplicably spawning enemies with the same shot sound effect over and over again.
Aye.
Sometimes you'll see a sword and get all your health back and regret doing it because it keeps the game playing for longer. There's no fun to be had here, and once again, a license is slapped into a game just to get it out to tie in with the movie. It's a crappy kind of Gauntlet-esque wanderathon with another really confusing navigation system, like we've seen in games like Death Wish, How to Be a Complete Bastard. There's others as well. And shit gameplay. I couldn't find any of the bespoke locations. I did get to wander around a graveyard at one point, but that was still confusing to navigate, and the whole thing left me bemused and confused. It was a dull and painful experience, just like watching the film, really. They've taken the most boring part of the film, which is they don't wander the streets for long, as I remember in the film.
No, they don't.
They've taken that bit and then, that'll make a great game.
Stupid.
No, it won't. No,
Why
it
don't they
doesn't.
just follow like? Do you remember many episodes ago we looked at that? What was the time traveling sort of pilot? What was he? Biggles. We looked at Biggles.
Yeah.
That was a film tie-in, and that had 3 little sort of mini bits, and that was quite good in its own little way.
Yeah, it was all right.
Why not do that? Why not pick out the bits that are like that and do more of those things? Why can't we do that? Why does it have to be this stupid shit?
See, I thought this reminded me. I know it's got Death Wish 3 because I know it's got that, but I thought it looked. Do you know what this game reminds me of? It's not so much Death Wish 3, but it has the whiff of that Mask game. There's something about it looks like that. That was Gremlin, wasn't it?
That was Gremlin as well, wasn't it?
Was it Mask 2? Was it the first Mask game? The one where you're wandering around that canyon and just...
Oh, that was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, because the second one was that crappy side-on thing.
Yeah. No, completely. And also, yes, it's very much like that, very of that ilk.
Yeah, there's just nothing of Masters of the Universe here. Like you said, that Biggles game did it much better. I don't know. It could have been worse, though. It could have been like Highlander with just Skeletor and He-Man fighting.
I'd have preferred that. At least it would have been contextually more accurate.
True. And would have got to see his underpants and look better. Why didn't they use the little sprite that was on the title screen? When I saw that, I thought, if they use that, that is a really cool little He-Man sprite. That. Yeah, I know. It's obviously too good. That's all I can think. There you go. Masters of the Universe, the movie. 57% it got as well, didn't it? They're a bit generous.
Yeah, I wouldn't have given it that.
No, I wouldn't have either. So that's a high. I think this is below average, so below a 50 for me. Painfully, they said it's aimed at the younger audience, but no, it's not. This is going to be boring for anyone. Kids not going to like this.
Yeah, aimed at the younger audience. What, embryos who don't know what they're looking at?
Just got really flobby thumbs and they can't hold a joystick
target
properly.
Audience for He-Man is obviously the people that like He-Man, which is kids. It's a toy.
Yeah, true.
So kids aren't going to like this.
Our age.
Yeah, exactly. Kids aren't going to like it.
No,
they didn't like the film.
No, we had things like Paradroid and stuff to play by this point. We wanted more. God damn it.
The irony of it was that this was it was Canon, wasn't it? Canon Films, great.
Yeah.
It was this great plan. They actually, they released this and Superman 4, didn't they?
They did.
And that was the big plan, was to get all the money they were going to make from those 2 films to fund their big Spider-Man movie they had in production. Yeah, that didn't go so well, did it?
Thank God.
Yeah.
Spider-Man life would have been ruined for years. Would have been killed dead.
Yes.
And that's even with, like, when you were explaining the plot to me, it's like the thing that sort of washes out or just springs to mind when you say the plot of this is like, oh yeah, that's not a plot device to cut the budget down, is it? That they get navigated to Earth at New York.
Oh, it absolutely was.
Mid-1980s. Yeah, it's like the Doctor Who episodes or the episodes in Star Trek, the holodeck episodes that always take them back to the Paramount backlot.
Yeah, well, they had grand ideas for the Masters of the Universe film, and then they'd got Dolph Lundgren and all the actors, and then it was 22 million was the budget for it, which for Canon Films was one of their big budget films. So. Yeah, but they were basically running on empty. So at this point, no, if it didn't make any of its money back, which it didn't, it was doomed, and it killed them off, really. So
well, yeah, I mean, in 2 years' time, you've got $70 million coming in for a Total Recall, aren't you? So you needed money at the point to do this kind of thing.
Because Dolph Lundgren is actually pretty good in it, all said and done. I mean, it's just his big comeback film from Rocky IV, because everyone hated him for being in Rocky IV.
Well, he did. No coming back from being Ivan Drago. He was in that other one, that sci-fi movie, wasn't there?
Yeah, is it Dark? I want to say Dark Angel.
Dark Angel, or Dark Avenger, or something.
We come in peace. Yeah, you go in pieces, asshole. That one.
That one. That's the one.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh dear. Preferred a game on that base rather than this.
Yeah,
but never mind. There's Masters of the Universe, the movie. It's not very good. We don't like that. Let's move along. Oh, God. Oh,
Yay!
Fruit Machine Simulator. Budget, $1.99. Anyway, who's this by? It's Codemasters, isn't it? Of course it is. How do you know it's Codemasters game?
Because it says simulator on it.
There you go, yeah. This is not the first of these kind of simulators or these kind of Fruit Machine nonsense we've looked at. And a quick look shows a Fruit Machine Simulator 2 in our future, so it won't be the last. We've been harsh on these kinds of games before, stating there's little point to transforming real-world gambling into virtual gambling. Will this change that pattern and convert us to a life of digital reel shuffling, holding, and a bit of nudging? Let's have a look. This is from Codemasters. Continues their trend of finding something and then sticking the word simulator on the end of it. BMX, ATV, Grand Prix, Fruit Machine. I don't know. I'm sure there are others, but there are no words. I'm sure there are others, but are there no words that cannot lead to a simulation? What else could they have done? I don't know. Hoover simulation.
You could do a vacuum cleaner simulator, yeah.
Yeah, anything.
Codemasters simulator. Just keep releasing simulator games.
Yeah, true. Who knows what the fiendish mind of David Darling can come up with? Fiendish David Darling. If you're wondering why I'm going off topic quite a bit, then it's because there's very little to say about Fruit Machine Simulator. I could not find who did the C64 version. The music's possibly by Matt Gray. There's a credit to Matt Gray on, I think, some Moby Games. But there's also, it could be David Whittaker. It sounds like David Whittaker. I don't know.
I think it's Dave Whittaker, I think.
Well, it says David Whittaker on the Spectrum inlay. There's just a big splat saying music by David Whittaker, but I couldn't actually find anything to say who did anything on this. So the Amstrad version was by the Oliver twins. The Spectrum version is by someone else. So who knows? I think it's just somebody. They've given it some people to support this. Oh, do I have to? Yes, do it. I am David Darling. I speak truth. Anyway, Fruit Machine Simulator is an eyesore of a game. Once loaded, the annoying music starts. Loud and brash and horrible. Whoever did it, it's horrible. Really horrible. I hated this music. It was just, The screen is a mass of reels and buttons and letters yelling cash bash at us in an attempt to try and fit all the things a Fruit Machine could possibly have onto one screen so they don't have to move anything around. For those who do not know, back in the 80s, we had Fruit Machines. They had evolved from one-armed bandits, I guess. So one-armed bandits were these sort of the real spins. You pull the arm on the side, and they spin. And if you get three of the same color on these things, you win prizes. Machines with reels in them. There were usually many pictures of fruit. It was always fruit, wasn't it? Loads of fruit.
Yeah,
there's always fruit. There's a fruit-based economy in these. And that case is the same here. So should you line up 3 fruits when the wheels spin and then they stop, you win money. Or they may allow you to hold them. So there's hold buttons at the bottom of underneath each reel, so the reel does not spin on the next go. Or you could nudge them, meaning you can spin the wheels manually. You sort of nudge them up one, so you can, if you're looking around where the wheel is, you used to look, and so you can nudge them to get a better profit. Very boring, it is what it is. All of this costs money in real life. So you put money in. It's a gambling game. It is literally, it's a gambling thing. So you cost you money, you put in, you may get money out. Usually £1. I think you might win a £5 on this sometimes. Back then, with the big money prizes, £3 or something like that. This game simulates that too. When it starts, you're asked to enter your name, then you can put some money in for credits. A maximum of 12 for some arbitrary reason.
Stupid.
Why can't I go? What if I've got more money? Because it doesn't exist. I could just keep putting money in.
12 is all the money. All the money you ever have is 12.
12. I have 12 money. Once done, you try and start to play it. You could try and start because it's like
stupid.
You press the start button. It's hard to control this. Who knows what's doing what? You press the start button, the reels spin. Now, I will say this. The reels do spin quite convincingly. It has to be said. That's the one decent thing in this. They stop, you get a hold, some numbers, some lights might flash. You press gamble, you might win. You press it again, you lose. You spin again, so on until you run out of credits. So the money you have won gets banked in the thing, and then I don't know, it says well done, and then it asks you to sign in again, and it repeats. You put more money, so you can't continue. It's like, where's that money gone? What have I won? What's happened here? Oh, just stupid. There's no sense of building putting money in. Oh, I got £1.20 out, so I got £3 out. So now I can put. Do I want to put all that £3 in, or do I want to cash that or lose it? Whatever. Once again, the criticism we have had in the past with these games just needs rolling out again. There's minimal input here beyond pressing some buttons and watching things happen on screen, and that's dull. You just move this hand across the bottom. Could you get the hand to go off the bottom of the screen to go up to any of the other buttons?
Nope.
No. So I didn't even know what I was supposed to do.
Nor did I ever get any nudges.
No, neither did I. I got some holds, and I got like you collect flashing between 20 and 80p things, something like that.
I don't think it had any nudge logic in it.
I don't think so either. So that you're just watching things happen on screen. This, I suppose, it's an accurate representation of a Fruit Machine. But what you're doing is you are removing the the real thrill of these things, which is the actual gambling of money. That is, of course, if that is your thing. So without that, what is there? There's nothing. These games are redundant in every way. We've said it about the card games, the fruit machine games, the video poker games, all those. They're just pointless. There's no fun to be had in pushing a button on a virtual screen and imagining you are playing a real fruit machine. Just no. I'm saying no more on this. It's got 18%. It's too high. This was rubbish. It looked awful. It sounded garbage. It was confusing to play. I don't know how you make a fruit machine simulator confusing to play. I don't get it. It's just pressing some buttons. Just crap. I hated this. What did you think?
Why? Why call this a simulator? Why not just call it fruit machine?
Yeah, true.
It's not a simulator, is it? This isn't simulating a fruit machine, really.
No.
I mean, it's weird, really, this. I guess it played like a sort of, a slot machine is what you call them, I think, really, or gambling machine. What do they call them now, anyway? But it plays like one.
I don't know.
Has all the usual sort of mini skill type bonus things, there's the letters you have to press the button in the right time and then you get a few things flash at you and all that. I didn't like the lose sound where it went, ooh, it started annoying me in the end. I'm like, stop doing that sound because it's overlong.
There's no sound in this that I enjoyed.
No, it's not. The sounds aren't welcome. It all felt meaningless, which is that kind of, I think the biggest problem really is it's just a meaningless. And to make weird limitations on something meaningless multiplies the meaningless by a factor of 1,000,000. So to give me 12 credits is just on something that's meaningless anyway. You may as well just give me unlimited credits. What difference does it make? Why is limiting my credits to the weirdness any better than giving me unlimited? It doesn't matter. I'm not actually winning real money. I'm just winning nothing. So I'm investing nothing. It's pointless. If you don't have nudges, because I saw they were there, but they don't have those. You can hold things, and the logic of it isn't really like anything proper. It's not a proper fruit machine, because those have the odds are loaded against you, but they have a percentage of win. So the more money you put in, the more chances are you're going to win. That's how they work. So you pump it full of coins, and eventually it's going to pay out. So having 12 credits means it's never going to pay out.
Nope.
So therefore, this person who created this fruit machine simulator did not understand the fundamental principles of gambling. They just thought it was a game, and it ain't.
Nope.
It's gambling. So nobody goes to the horse racing to just watch them race, because that's not what it's for. Okay, anyway, that's the end of this lecture. The door is on, the exit's on the left there. Thank you very much for attending.
Please come to my next TED Talk.
Come to my next TED Talk, yeah. So there's no fun in this. Not even for actual fruit machine players would this be fun, because it wouldn't be. It wouldn't attract them, because they would see $1.99 not as they'd won anything, but they'd lost $1.99 when they could have put that into a gambling machine.
And maybe won £3 money back. Yeah. Exactly.
You'll lose patience with this. I did, and you'll soon be gone as I was. Goodbye, Fruit Machine Simulator. Goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely. Rubbish. Yep. Rubbish and pointless. These things are just pointless. Pointless. Let's move along and spend no more time on that. So let's go for a walk, Graham. Let's just go for a walk along the Sidewalk.
Odd thing, this, from Infogrames. This is coded by Kamal Bala, which sounds like a spell.
Kamala.
It sounds like something from Harry Potter. Kamala Bahala. Oh, sorry, Kamal. I don't mean to take mercilessly Mickey out of your name, but you are called Kamal Bala. Gerard Karubal. Who's the other person? Well, the other coder was Gerard Karubal. Karubal. Graphics are by Didier Chamfray, and the musician was Charles Calais. Okay. Or Callet, as he's probably known to you and me, because we say fillet, don't we, instead of fillet? Because that's just the way we roll around these northern parts. And that.
Fillet of fish.
Fillet of fish. So this is Charles Callet and Didier Chamfray. Anyway, bit of a weird one, this. Conversion of the Spectrum game, obviously. This is an arcade adventure-ish, icon-ish kind of deal. The game sees you on the quest to find your stolen motorbike and Live Aid concert tickets, so that you can take your good lady friend to the Live Aid concert. At
7:30 that night. 3 years too late.
It's just stupid. Unfortunately, your bike has already been harvested for its parts, and these are now dotted all over town. You must find all the parts of your motorbike and assemble them as quickly as you can. Locate the 2 stolen tickets for the concert, and all before 7:30. Or, if not, your girlfriend is going to head off to the concert with your love rival, John.
Made me laugh loads. Not John.
Not John. Jilty John. Listen, Paul, I love you, but there's this bloke I fancy. That's the good old Jilty John. And I say let her go. If she's that flighty, you're better off without her anyway. But that's just, Anyway, back to the game. I've been going out with a girl. Her name is... It doesn't actually say what her name is or what your name is.
No, her name is Julie.
Yeah, her name is Julie, but it doesn't say what in the song it does, but in the game it doesn't actually say what you're
on about the game. All right, sorry.
Yes, that's the purpose of this discussion, strangely enough.
Is it? Oh.
In the game, you control your character, so we'll say, we'll call him what he is. As you wander around looking for information about your stolen bike parts, the game window is split into 5 areas. The top left is the view of your character. Top middle is the street view. Top right are the characters you come across. Under that is a mini text window / question area. And under that are the control icons, all 3 of them.
Yep.
You must wander and interact with the various people you find by either asking a question, escaping, or fighting, since those are your options. This is achieved by using the icons. If you ask questions, which you do by selecting the question mark and then choosing the appropriate question, you will possibly gain information or possibly disinformation, or even ask for money to help jog your memory. You don't have a choice, really, and most of the answers will be, I don't know, get lost, because that tends to be what you counter. Sometimes the plan there, of course, is to try and help you find the stolen items. On occasion, the character will already have a motorbike part, and when I say on occasion, almost always. And you can fight them using the joystick to punch, kick, and headbutt your way through your energy and your opponents, which is shown here as a pint of beer. If this reaches empty, you've been knocked out, and it's game over. If theirs is empty, then you win, and you get the part that they're holding. Makes sense, really. If you find an opponent and they look stronger than you, you get a little stat window when they appear, and it tells you what he's good at. This man can fight snakes instead of one of mine, which is weird. I thought, I don't think I want to challenge him. He just punches snakes and cutters. Yeah, exactly. Just kill an otter in a second. Just kick its face off. So if they look stronger, you can choose to escape, obviously. And that's it, really. That's your tour of the streets underway, moping about, looking for clues, punching people up, or running away. If your beer energy gets too low, you can replenish this in a pub with a free pint. That tells you how fantasy this is. 3 pints. What planet are they on? And then you can continue with your quest. You won't want to do any of those things after one or two brief steps into this crazy game. So the game, then, what to say? The graphics are horrible. They're a horrible Spectrum conversion. Yes, I suppose they're detailed and cartoon-like. And yes, that's high res. And yes, that is a brown sideboarder. Brown. No game should have a brown sideboarder ever. It's all bunched in a kind of horrible way in the screen as well. So the top area of the screen is kind of crammed with high-res graphics, which are ugly to look at, actually. You walk around in the middle window, sort of controlling the left and right of the player, weirdly controlling. And periodically, you'll just be confronted with junctions in sort of weird views. It's just stupid and weirdly. It's another game that's weird to control. So you play around, and periodically you can just use different directions at junctions. Why can't you just walk around anywhere in these games? Just walk around. And what is it with these crap controls and these weird direction controls? Anyway, if that wasn't bad enough, the fights are weird because they're basically just a test of who lasts the longest. There's no skill in what you're doing. Nope. You just move the joystick around and your pint hopefully goes down slower than his pint does. So that means you win. And then you just have to wander around trying to find a pub to top your energy up again. It's all dull, it's all dreary, and the music in it is bloody horrible. Horrible.
Yep.
This is unpleasant on the eye and the ear. Not for me. What about you?
Yeah. Pretty much. What the hell is it with confusing street-based games this week? What is it? I don't understand. Here we have a painful trudge around grey roads and alleys, asking people about pieces of a bike whilst trying to get our head around the seemingly illogical nightmare of navigation that this game asks of you. In real life, I've got a great sense of direction. I remember routes all the time. I just have to go somewhere once normally, and I can find my way back there or get there, drive there, wherever.
Like a homing pigeon.
Yeah, here, I was lost in seconds, flicking from sidewalk to sidewalk, seemingly beset by 100 angry people, intent on fighting me for just walking around, unable to find any clues about anything, bothered by stabby and annoying sound cues that would blare for no real reason.
Yep.
I kind of see what they're aiming for. Once again, this is painful to play and offers no enjoyment. The fighting's also crap, even though the monochrome visuals and the side panels do have some nice styles to them a bit, but it reminded me a bit of that Andy Cap game as well. That kind of thing, isn't it? Again, and that ain't a good thing. And also, what was with that picture of that girl with the massive nipple?
Yeah, I thought that was really weird when that appeared.
It's just appeared she's just trying to do graffiti sort of thing, but she's got huge boobs and massive nipples for no real reason. It's like, what's going on? This is ugly and awful and horrible, and I don't like it. And they're just, the fighting is just, they just come at you, don't they? Just waving their fists in and you just have to.
Yeah, it's just rubbish.
Yeah. And it took me ages to find the bar to actually get any health back. I just kept dying. When you die, you have to reset it. It just keeps flashing the colours over the character.
Yeah.
And it's like, you press fire button to go back just now. You have to actually press the reset to beginning. It's just rubbish. Just another guy. What are they thinking? Just this bad games, and we're just playing a lot of them at the moment. And this is March it's like February rolled into another month. It's just I don't know what's gone on. You know, the shovelware was just high. It's terrible. This was rubbish. Really didn't like it at all. Anyway, there you go. Sidewalk can walk on as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, crap.
And also, it's pavement.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know, we're not in America.
Yes,
it's pavement.
Camel Bala. Just take note.
My ears! Camel Bala is what I shouted at some point when that music started playing. I could help it.
It's an exclamation of pain. Camel Bala!
Yeah, I had to. It's just, oh my God, that music.
Bless him.
Yeah, you know, there we go. That's it. That's it for this half, for this part. 4 games. Started off rock hard and then just went to crap. And never got out the toilet. I really didn't.
No.
Just terrible. I got 67% as well at Sidewalk. It's like,
I don't know why.
I don't know why either. Ugly and horrible. No way to go through life. Right, we're going to go take a quick break. We will come back. We will look at albums for March 1988. See if there's anything in there that will please our earbuds better than that horrible cacophonous Camel Bala did in Sidewalk. So see you in a bit.
Fresh hummus and delicious dips for our show sponsor, DavidHearnWriter.com, where you will find a gargantuan collection of brilliant audiobooks, bargain books, ebooks, and more. David once threw a dinner fork through a wall because his jacket potato was too hot. He doesn't mess around. He's also a brilliant writer. Check out this sound snip from his fantastic audiobook, Escape from the Commodore 64, which is available now.
Sarah, what are you doing? You're going to get us both killed, Reese shouted after her. Over there, Sarah yelled, sighting something and running towards it. You don't know what you're doing, Reese shouted after her. They both dodged more bullets, the soldiers starting to swarm. She didn't look back as she replied, I solved that Rubik's Cube of yours, didn't I? Reese ran after her, ducking as more bullets flew past his head. You pulled all the stickers off and changed them. You broke the rules, he said, as frustrated as he was flummoxed.
If that hasn't got your purchasing finger poised over the buy now button, I don't know what will. For more, please visit DavidHearnWriter.com. That's David, Hearne, writer.com. Off you go.
And we're back. Welcome once again. Looks like we're going into March 1988 and the albums that were released in the UK that month. So without further ado, number 1 for the first 2 weeks, Graham, Still, He Won't Leave. It's introducing the hard line according to Terence Trent D'Arby.
Mr. D'Arby. Yeah, still there. Not going anywhere.
There's nothing else to say. I think I've run out of jokes.
We've exhausted the whole Darby Trent jokes now. It's just time to leave him alone.
It is. Following week, Viva Hate by Morrissey. I did put the album covers of these in the agenda. They're very similar. Seems to be like number 1 album right now. You need to be in black and white and looking down to the right.
Down and to the right.
down and to the right.
To the right, yeah. Yeah, don't like Morrissey. Don't like anything. And Viva Hate. No thanks.
No, I don't either, so I'm not going to say anything about him. Finally, for the last week, it's that time of year again. We're quarter of the way in. Now that's what I call Music 11.
Loads and loads. Pretty much every single that we've spoken about over the last quarter. So between January and March is on there. You know, and it's actually out of the. Now that's what I call music compilations. Pretty much every single one of those has been quite a big hit on there. Sometimes they have the obscure one, but when you look at because you can see all the track listings for all Now albums on the Now Music website.
You can.
But the tracks on that one are actually, I think the Kylie Minogue one, the recent one we spoke about, is on that.
Really?
I should be so lucky's on it, I think, yeah.
You've got Always on My Mind, Pet Shop Boy, Heaven is a Place on Earth, Get Out of My Dreams, Say It Again. Come on, everybody, Eddie Cochran. Yeah. It's got Angel Eyes by Wet, Wet, Wet on it.
Yeah.
Tell About the Clock, Johnny Hates Jazz. Valentine by The Pow.
That's probably the obscure one then. There's always normally 1 or 2, isn't there? But some pretty big hits on there.
Yeah, it's not bad. I was looking at it. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I mean, you just go buy it, don't you? Because you just wait. That's why everyone buys it. It just saves you so much money. It's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's money saving.
Yeah. Anyway, right, let's get into our weekly roundup. 6th of March. In at number 2 was Children by The Mission.
It's quite high, isn't it? That surprised me. That's straight to number 2.
They'll have a lot of fans. They'll just go buy it and then it'll drop, and it does drop quite sharply after that. They'll go get it. The second regular album.
I don't get what it meant in the wiki by that. Was there an irregular album?
The first album was Wasteland, and then they had the sort of B-sides and extra stuff called the First Chapter album.
Right, okay.
Which had like stuff like Crystal Ocean and the extended Like a Hurricane, Over the Hills and Far Away and stuff like that on it, which hadn't been released on Wasteland. So it was kind of a B-sides and rarities album. So that's that. There were 2. I was surprised there's only 2 singles released off this, Tower of Strength and Beyond the Pale.
Yep.
We've had Tower of Strength already. Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come's not bad, but that album's a strange album. It's produced by what's his face? I said John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin.
Is it?
Yes.
Right. Makes sense.
I'm pretty sure it is, but it's really bad. It's quiet. It's a quiet album. It's not very. If you put it out, because sometimes I have tracks off that in like a compilation, and like you have to always turn it up when those come on.
Oh, interesting. It's just a bit of a low mix.
Yeah, it's not very well mixed at all. It's a bit muted. Like nothing sounds.
They should have done it in doubly.
They did. Something was floating through the transom that day.
When you do these albums, you should always do in doubly.
They should do. What it does have, though, will come to Beyond the Pale as it comes around, sort of thing, is they always had really, really good remixes for their singles. So I'll wait for Beyond the Pale when we get that cracking remix of that.
Is it the woman that's off Thingamajig sings on that? She sings on one of the tracks on there.
Yeah, Julianne Reagan, yeah. From All About Eve, yes.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
It is indeed. And at number 4 was The Best of OMD by Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. That'd be weird if it wasn't by Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, wouldn't it?
that would be ace, wouldn't it? The Best of OMD by
Lonnie Donegan.
yeah, it's just some random artist that where are you doing our best stuff? We do our best stuff. We're Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. Yeah, but this is the Best of OMD. OMD. That's a different group. Sorry, I know it sounds like it's, we're just, people might get confused, yeah.
But this is OMD.
Yeah, we've been around for years.
We do Enola Gray. and John of Dark.
Do you know, I get Enola Gay and Joan of Arc totally mixed up.
Really? They're very dissimilar.
I know, but I was thinking Joan of Arc, and that is Joan of Arc, and I was going, Enola Gay, and I was kind of fitting them both together.
It's because they've got the same amount of consonants in them.
Yeah, and if you look at their album, I was wondering how many did, and it was actually those 2, and the rest of the tracks I'd never heard of.
It's the album of 1,000 hits.
It is, yeah. I bet there was on there, featuring Enola Gay and Joan of Arc. Anyway, by the best of, because it's great.
By the best of OMD.
By the best of OMD.
By Lonnie Donegan. At number 10 is Now and Zen.
Oh, jeez.
By Robert Plant.
And the 1988 Pretentious Album Name Award goes to...
Yeah, exactly.
Goodness me, Now and Zen.
It's awful, isn't it?
I'd have had more time for him if he'd have just called it Now Zen, like some kind of Mancunian. But he didn't, did he?
Now Zen? He's from Wolves, isn't he? He's from Wolverhampton.
Yeah, it's Wolves. He is. Yes, I've got a little note about that. This is the 4th solo album.
Imagine if he sang in accent.
I would like to hear that.
So it's Led Zeppelin songs, but in a Brummie accent.
Oh, somebody do that. I can't do good Brummie accents, really.
No, I can't.
I mean, I remember a friend of mine had this idea that you could record parts of the film Aliens, but with a Brummie accent where he says, nuke the size from orbit. There's stuff like that, but
that's Scouse, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, that's nuke. That's nuke, isn't it? That'd be nuke. Okay. Anyway, let's not to kill ourselves with that kind of thing. But yes, I'd like to hear that. Apparently, there's a prominent guitar sound and an exotic feel to this, which was a change in direction. It had a Middle Eastern tone, apparently. Nothing pretentious about any of that, is there?
Nothing, not at all.
And the original released copies of the Seed album contained a version of a wolf motif mini flag in satin red, which is a tribute to the Wolverhampton Wanderers, which is a football team obviously he likes.
His favourite football team. It's now sold at seaside markets up and down the country.
It is, yes.
I wonder what his brothers are up to, hand and face.
Hand plant?
Yeah, it's a hand plant. It's a thingy trick, isn't it? It's a skateboarding trick.
A face plant, yeah. There's a whole bunch of plants, isn't there? Yeah.
I don't know. Could you think of any more?
Heavy plant, yeah. Plant crossing,
manufacturing.
Of course. Manufacturing plant, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
There's a wide family there.
Nuclear power. The older brother.
Yeah, just power.
Power plant. Why didn't he call his album that? I'd have had more time for that.
I would have, yeah. That
Power Plant.
writes
That's
itself.
a good album. It does. You could have done that. None of this now and then. Power Plant, damn you.
Absolutely. And the sequel could have been Nuclear Power Plant.
Exactly. Why didn't we just, you know what, Robert? Come on. Hire people. Hire the right people when you need them.
Absolutely. We're here. We're willing to help you in 1988.
Exactly.
We have a time machine and everything.
We figured it all out in the space of 2 or 3 minutes. You crazy fool.
We could have done your career wonders. Not that you really needed it. I mean, you got enough money, but we could have done it better.
Yes.
Number 13 is Idlewild by Everything But the Girl. Their fourth album.
Yes, it's their fourth album, believe it or
They
not.
were going this long before that. I thought Everything But the Girl were like new when in the 90s.
I know. I was like you, thinking that awful, dreary step off the train.
Yeah.
Running. You know, that one that when they played in nightclubs, people just started crying and weeping instantly. Removing all the fun from actually being in a club and dancing about to, Love Shack or whatever it might have been before that dreary nonsense came on. But anyway, yes, this is their fourth album. It sounds flow between acoustic instrumentation, synths, and drum machine, apparently.
Okay.
That's according to singer Tracy Thorne. Anyway, I'd not heard any of it, and I never will.
No,
I suspect podcast friend Gary, he was big into Everything But the Girl, I think. Or maybe that was just his mantra. But either way, it's the fourth one that I've not heard, and I probably didn't hear the fifth and the sixth either.
Oh, I didn't hear anything until Step Off the Train, whatever. Me anymore. I'm like, these sound like a new band.
Is it missing or missing you, isn't it? And I miss you like the deserts miss the rain. There's something in the lyrics on that, aren't there?
Is that the lyric? I always thought like a desert's mystery.
Oh, the deserts miss the train. Yeah. Or you don't get desserts on a train, which you don't actually. You take that up with LNER, bloody first class. That's what you call first class, is it?
No dessert.
Anyway, no dessert in the Scotch cadaver that day.
And with good cause. Number 19, The Friends Experiment by The Fall. 10th? I'm just going to exclaim how many albums it is every time. 10th?
The interesting thing here is I've not heard anything of these. Apparently, it has one of the tracks on it, a track called Athlete Cured, has got a strong similarity to Spinal Tap's Tonight I'm Going to Rock You Tonight.
Strong similarity. It is. Did you listen to it?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I was going to say.
It goes, dum, 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 dum,
Yeah.
dum.
Now, some people say that a strong similarity. I say rip-off. Yeah, I agree with you. Apparently, in his autobiography, he even says that it was blatantly a rip-off. It's not accidental.
It's not. So. It is... Good Lord. When I listened to it, I was like, that is.
It's Tonight I'm Going to Rock You Tonight. That's a good track by the old Spinal Tap. Leave him alone.
Absolutely, yes. Leave him alone indeed. Number 29, Best of House Volume 4.
Yes, in case you missed any of these tracks off Volume 1, 2, and 3, they're just repeated in a different order on track 4. So Royal House is on there. And instead of saying I'll house you, it's Party People. Say what? Party People. That's the Club Rubber Dub mix on that. Bam Bam, Give It To Me by the Double Trouble remix, and the Beatmasters Rock the House remix, featuring the Cookie Crew, of course, and there's loads of others on there. Jake E. Makosa, The Opera House. I'm thinking that's just a play on words. Anyway, go on, experiment. That best track on it's Bomb the Bass by Beat This by a long, long way.
True, as I've just written at the bottom of that. What?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Well, I didn't know whether this was leading up to some game or something, where it's like, spot the real ones.
I was going to, and I thought, I can't be bothered.
It writes itself. Number 72 is I Stand Alone by Agnetha Holtskog.
Yes. This is the third English language solo studio album from ABBA-esque friend, 10th overall. And the interesting thing here, this album was produced by Peter Cetera, and it said in Wiki it was the last she would do for 17 years. So my question is, what did Peter Cetera do to her? What did he do?
He did The Glory of Love.
He did. He made her sing that, and that was it. She's like, I'm not recording anything for 17 years.
Absolutely. I always thought Peter Cetera sort of thing is just missing the and, or the French word for and in the middle there, and he got called that sort of thing because he could never finish his lists.
Peter, etc. We said that before.
I'm pretty sure we have.
That's a repeat joke.
It's etc.
I believe you. Is her surname? It's Agnetha Falskog. Is that right? Falskog.
I don't know.
She's an amazing singer. Don't get me wrong. Nothing wrong with an Agnetha. But yes, apparently Peter Cetera's production put her off music for 17 years. He must be crap. God, no wonder. Gloria Love My Ass.
He did The Glory of Love.
Or is the song just called Gloria Love? And it's the same name of a woman. Everyone just got it wrong.
Maybe.
We did it all for Gloria Love. No, it's Glory of Love. Oh, it's too late. We've printed all the album sleeves now.
Oh, dear. 13th of March. Number 3, Tear Down These Walls by Billy Ocean.
Interesting fact that I discovered at the same time as you by the look of it. 7th album, British. He's British. He's a British recording artist.
I thought he was American.
I did, but he's British.
Because his songs really do have an American feel to them, don't they? It's what I've noted.
They're all recorded in the USA, and he lives there.
So he should be American.
But he's not. Lots of singles off that. Get Out My Dreams, Get Into My Car, Calypso Crazy, Colour of Love. Yeah, Stand and Deliver.
Colour of Love peaked at number 65.
Yeah, they didn't do so well.
They go down a bit. He had one big hit, got at number 3, 35, 65, and 97.
Yeah.
Stand and Deliver, a cover of the Adamant song.
I hope so. I'm going to track it. I couldn't track it down. There's not a lot of these easy to find.
No, they're not. Number 10, Who's Better, Who's Best by OMD.
Yeah. By the what?
By the Y.
Yeah. Yes, Who's Better, Who's Best? They could have named it something better, couldn't they? I feel like there's better names to be had about that.
Yeah, maybe.
So anyway, it's obviously a compilation album by The Who. What surprised me when I read the track listing for this is how many of the tracks I'd heard of. Firstly, how many of them are written by Pete Townsend, which is pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
And secondly, how many I'd actually heard of. It surprised me how many I'd heard of. Things like My Generation, Kids Are All Right, Substitute, I Can See for Miles, Who Are You? Who Are You? Sorry, Who Are You? Who Are You? Won't
Who
Get
Are
Fooled
You?
Again.
That's the sound. That's the CSI one, isn't it?
Yeah. Who Are You?
Yeah.
Won't Get Fooled Again is off CSI Miami, and they use it on that. I Can't Explain, Pinball Wizard, See Me, Feel Me. They're both from Tommy. I
don't like the fact that See Me, Feel Me, Squeeze Box is next to each other. Feel Me, Squeeze Box.
But I had a bit of a revisionist thing with The Who because I was still am a fan of The Who. I quite like some of their songs. You can't deny that they're of their time, but they're quite good in their own way. Some of them. Some aren't, but some are. And I always thought that because the drummer in The Who obviously is revered amongst drummers. Yeah. But in actuality, I still can't decide whether he's actually an amazingly good drummer or is just an erratic, crazy person, and that the rest of the musicians, Pete Townsend principally, are genuinely amazing. Because you listen to some of the drumming that's on things like Won't Get Fooled Again, and it on reflection, it doesn't sound so great. If you listen back to it, it sounds like he's just falling over a drum kit a lot, really, without much... Because apparently he never really played it live twice the same. He always played it completely differently because he didn't remember what he played.
A bit from column A, a bit from column B, I think, probably.
Yeah, he's a bit of an erratic, crazy person. But he was, obviously off his mash on crazy drugs, wasn't he? So,
He was, yes. Number 39, Street Sounds Hip Hop 20.
Yeah, I don't know what the 20's for. There's not 19 others of these, as far as I know. Loads of tracks on there you won't have heard of, so...
No. 20th of March, straight into number 1. We've talked about it. It was Viva Hate by Morrissey.
There was a negative review from Spin, who said, without guitarist composer Johnny Marr at his side, the Mahatma of mope rock seems to have gone out for a nice depressing stroll without noticing that he didn't have a stitch to wear.
Bitchy.
Why not just don't try and be clever about it. Call it out for what it is. A depressing load of shit. Sorry, Morrissey, but you're crap. And stop waving those flowers around.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's just annoying, wasn't he?
Yep.
In at number 3 was Naked by Talking Heads. 8th?
Yeah, they had a lot of albums. A lot of albums, didn't they, them?
Yeah, this marked a return to the world beat stylings of both Remaining Light and Speaking in Tongues, supposedly, blending elements of Afrobeat, Latin punk, and art pop. The album songs were formed from improvisational jam sessions recorded in Paris, which featured the participation of numerous guest musicians, such as former Smiths guitarist Johnny Marr, where he's gone, and singer Kirsty MacColl. Lyrics and vocals then added in New York following the Paris recordings. Sounds absolutely pretentious as hell.
It is. It's the one jam you can't get at the Sunday market, isn't it? Improvisational jam. You get strawberry, you can get raspberry, all the preserves you want.
You'd be surprised what you can get at Sunday market.
Well, I'm going to go and ask for that.
Can I have some improvisational jam?
You can. Here it is in this jar, but it's not a jar.
In it. You have to make it. You have to make it up as you go along.
You're asking for stupid crap, and that's what we sell.
I remember the album cover. I posted that here. I do remember that album cover. Yeah. Don't remember anything else about it. I did listen to the single Blind. Did you listen to it?
No, I didn't.
Someone forgot to tell them to include a tune.
Sounds about right for that.
It's like it's just noise.
Well, there's a reason it's the final album.
It's not very good at all. I was like, Talking Heads, you made some absolutely amazing songs. Yeah. Then you went all Radiohead.
Yeah, just too far.
Yeah,
things he was very much an artist turned musician, not a musician turned artist, wasn't he? So.
Psycho Killer, Road to Nowhere. So many great songs.
So many great tracks. Yeah.
Number 5, From Langley Park to Memphis. That's Prefab Sprout.
Third. 3 albums. 3.
Third.
No.
Shoulders.
Rolling Stones' Peter Wilkinson described the album as overreaching.
Ugh.
Yeah, so I thought that. So, elaborating, McAloon tries leavening. Leavening. Is that a word? Disjointed talk with instrumental gimmickry. Songs built around McAloon's guitar are lost in a swirl of strings and the noodlings of no less than 5 engineers and 4 producers.
Recipe for too many chefs in that, then, isn't there?
Too many noodles, yeah, no, that's a lot of noodling. If you're bringing that many noodles, something's going to go wrong. You don't need, you always overestimate noodles anyway. You always do too many noodles. Why did I do that many? They absorb all the moisture from what you're doing. They turn average stir fries into slop very quickly and easily.
That and pasta and rice. You always do too much. How much you tell yourself going, I don't need 2 handfuls. Handfuls.
And I can tell you, the noodlings of 5 engineers and 4 producers, that is a lot of noodles.
That's way too many. That's super noodles.
Mix that with prefab sprout and you've got some kind of fart string disaster. You're going to, every time you fart, it's going to look like a damp party popper.
Ew. Is the noise it'll make.
Will this wash off?
No. You've been prefabbed. That's a prefab sprout on your head.
Here it is.
We can generate them at will. Look. Just with an instantiate command.
Gross. Bloody gross.
Number 18, So Far So Good. So What? By Megadeth.
Another third album. I know, lots of 3s and 4s in this, isn't there? This was the band's only album recorded with drummer Chuck Baylor and guitarist Jeff Young, both of whom were fired from the band in early 1989, several months after the completion of the album's world tour.
Mr. Steve Huey of AllMusic criticised the album for lacking the conceptual unity and musical bite of its predecessor. According to him, the album wants to sound threatening, but mostly comes off as forced and somewhat juvenile, citing the cover track as an example. And I'm just like, juvenile? Megadeth? Never.
Just a two-word review from this. Shit sandwich. They can't print that.
That comes later.
Yeah. So good, so far, so what? So that actually sums up everything I think about them at that point anyway.
Yeah, I never thought about them. I thought nothing of them until, if I saw them on Power Hour or something like that, I'd be like, oh, it's Megadeth.
No.
I'm not getting the next 3 minutes of my life back. Number 20, the chart show Rock the Nation.
Bit with a weird compilation, that.
Yeah.
Yeah. A quick scan of the track listings, which are on Discogs, and you've got Motley Crue, Pat Benatar, and Status Quo one after another. And God, surely those 3 things in a row cause some kind of intergalactic time warp or something bad happens. It's like saying Klaatu Barata Nikto, for God's sake.
I'm surprised you didn't know. Just before them, we had the Mini Vampires, the cult.
Yes, the old Mini Vamps. They should have called themselves the Mini Vampires.
I think, that would have been a much better title than the cult. The Cult of Mini Vampires. Number 43 is Kingdom Come by OMD.
God's sake, this thing.
Debut? Someone let them make one.
Someone let them make an album, yeah. Did you actually listen to this?
I did. I listened to that one you linked to.
Yeah, channeling Led Zeppelin.
I watched it for a bit.
Yeah, well, yes. There's the reasons why you would do that, but channeling Led Zeppelin much, because they sound exactly like Led Zeppelin.
Sounds exactly like Led Zeppelin.
How did somebody not stop them and go, right, sorry guys, I don't mean to ruin your day or anything, but you sound exactly like Led Zeppelin, who are way better at everything than you're doing right now. And they don't have stupid band member names.
No, they don't.
But ex-band members include Lenny Wolf, Dion Murdoch, Billy Leisgang, Heiko Radke Saib, Bam Bam Shibley, Mirko Schaefer, Mark Cross, Blues Saraceno, Nils Frankenstein, by the look of it, and Hendik Theimsbrumal. The current members are Keith St. John, Danny Stagg, Rick Steyer, Johnny B. Frank, and James Kotak.
That's Johnny B. Frank is a command.
It is James Kotak from the planet Kotak.
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 We've hired a Klingon.
He won't go. So like you said, yeah, it sounds like Led Zeppelin, exactly like Led Zeppelin. The video's full of alarming nudity levels.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't think I've actually had YouTube pop up with a "Are you old enough?" tag before. I had to verify my age. I was like, what for? And then I watched it and I went, oh, that's why. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, this is shit sandwich.
It is bad.
There you go.
Really
number
bad.
59, Just For You, Graham, by Howard Keel.
Just for you. I don't know much about Howard Keel.
He was in Dallas.
Yeah, I know. That's it's sort of an actor person, isn't he? Howard
but he
Keel.
was a country. I think he's a country and western singer.
Is he the singer that was in some musical, Seven Bride for Seven Brothers? As he sings in that?
Yeah, he might. Yes, he might be. Yeah, I think he was a country and western sort of singer, slash sort of that kind of musical singer. And then I only know him because he popped up in Dallas as Miss Ellie's. Was it? What was the mum's name?
Did he pop up as Miss Ellie? That'd be hilarious.
No, what was the mum's name in Dallas?
I don't know. I
Because
didn't
when
really
Jock
watch it.
Ewing, he became a love interest after Jock Ewing died.
Goodness me, you know far too much about Dallas. I'm still trying to figure out whether it's got Alexis in it, whether that was the other one.
That's Dynasty.
I'm no good then. You're no good anymore because you're dead now.
True. And how it is. 27th of March, in at number 1, as we said. Now that's what I call Music 11. As we said, what else we need to say? Number 7.
What else can you say about that? Yeah.
There's loads of best ofs, isn't there? The Story of the Clash, Volume 1 by The Clash.
Yeah, double disc compilation comprising 28 tracks. Although there is some good stuff on there.
Yeah, but The Clash, they sound too much like The Clash for me.
They do sound a lot like The Clash.
Alarmingly like The Clash. Alarmingly, they don't sound like The Alarm, who sound like U2.
That's true.
Number 8, Live in Europe by Tina Turner. Or it could be Live in Europe.
I think it's Live in Europe. Go with Live in Europe. It's a command. Tina Turner commands, we do.
Absolutely. Not so easy for us in England anymore, though. Although I suppose we are living in Europe, we're in England.
Well, they should have brought her in for the bloody Brexit thing. Should have turned things around for people, wouldn't she? Tina Turner going, live in Europe.
Out in the wilderness, past generations.
God, that's a weird Tina Turner impression.
These are the worlds we left behind. Do, 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 do.
Scunthorpe city limits. Okay, it's not a city though, not yet. One day. They can live the dream one day.
One day. Number 26, Chalk Mark in a Rainstorm by Joni Mitchell.
Right.
This was a close contender for, pretentious album title of the month.
Yes, it's another one, I'm afraid. 13th studio album from
13th?
Joni.
13? You're just hogging studio space.
Loads of artists duetting with her on this. Peter Gabriel, that'd be chirpy. Willie Nelson, that'll be Willie. Don Henley and Snakes and Ladders, and Billy Idol.
Billy Idol and Tom Petty on one track.
I know. Called The Dancing Clown. That's what they thought of Billy Idol. You dancing clown. Yeah, it's just Wendy and Lisa are on it as well. So I don't really know much about them.
Wendy and Lisa?
I think we've mentioned them before. I think they were the singers that Prince had on some of his
Oh, maybe doing the backing vocals on the Tea Leaf Prophecy, Lay Down Your Arms.
Exactly. I have a bit of time for Joni Mitchell, but later Joni Mitchell when she's kind of old and cranky, so not so much the younger one.
Yeah. Well, she often pops around for tea still.
She does, actually. She does. She's very fond of her tea. She likes to toast it on both sides, so you know.
That's good. Done it both, but done one after the other under the grill or in a toaster.
In a toaster, but she doesn't like the edges being toasted, so you have to toast it.
You have to
surface only.
It's very hard to get that kind of toaster.
No planar toasting for her. You've got to do everything surface. Bit of 3D geometry humour there.
Good Lord. Just when I thought we couldn't get any more niche. Did you see, by the way, that someone really liked, someone was really laughing at our stupid, what was it, assembly code jokes?
Assembly code jokes, I know. God
Somebody posted that they found it funny.
Well, we knew that you said, you called it, you said someone would they'll be laughing their heads off, and indeed they were.
I know, see, I know our audience. Number 32, hip hop and rapping in the house. So, yeah, by various artists.
Combination of hip hop and rap. Does exactly what it says in the tin, that one. But there's a few tracks I know that Gary would have liked, and a Gary podcast friend, of course. And by this time, his afro was on the rise.
His afro would have been getting bigger with each track.
It was. His afro was starting to grow at this point.
Yeah.
It reached the size of conifer trees in a matter of weeks. Matter of weeks it was.
Absolutely. When you balled up that tight with stress like he was, though, I'm not surprised. So it's got to come out. He had to come out somewhere, and it just came out with his hair. It was like one of those.
It came out somewhere, right? It wasn't his hair.
It was like one of those Mr. Play-Doh things where someone was twisting around the back, and it was just shooting out of it, every follicle of his head.
God. I'm glad you said shooting out of every follicle then.
Because in number 39 is more Gary stuff, In Full Effect by Mantronics.
Another third album. A third album. It's pretty good, actually, that one. Really good.
I'll take your word for it.
I remember podcast friend Gary liking Mantronics a lot.
Yeah, he did. Finally, at number 43, Once Around the World by It Bites. It's the sound of Through the Night music videos. It Bites for one of those that calling all the hips all the time.
Heroes living at the doodah. Yeah, that's the one hit I remember. This album was utterly shite. The next one.
Yeah, it's bound to have been. Yeah.
Well, it was nothing like anything that they did in that first hit. After that, it was all downhill from there.
It's all bad. That's not a particularly good month for music, is it? For albums, apart from The Mission at the start.
Well, for The Mission, you got The Mission, and you got Now That's What I Call Music 11, I suppose.
Which is
and Mantronics. Mantronics is pretty good.
Okay. And I suppose there's a bit of Tina Turner in there.
Tina said a bit of The Clash. She got a few compilations, but you've got to get past great big knob-heady albums like Now and Zen. Which is still annoying me. Yeah, it's still annoying me.
And then you've also and not as like not as if we've had enough bloody Led Zeppelin. We've got Kingdom Come, who are knockoff Led Zeppelin,
emulating. No, they should be a David Darling game, Led Zeppelin Simulator.
Yeah, they're more like Iron Airship.
Well, there's another one that came along later that sounded a lot like Led Zeppelin. What were they called? Mother something.
I don't know.
I can't remember now. But they're another one. Well, they sound like that, which I suppose is a good thing if you like Led Zeppelin.
Because it's just more and more. There you go. Right, that's it. That's your albums. We're leaving them behind now, and we're going to get into 4 more games. Is it 4 more? We've got 4 more left for this part, and so let's go take a quick break, listen to this, and then we'll see you in a moment.
A strawberry movie ice lolly and a couple of screwballs to our show sponsor, davidhearnwriter.com, where you will find a remarkable collection of audiobooks, bargain books, ebooks, and more. David once drank a tub of bathwater to get someone out of his bathroom. He's a brilliant author as well. Check out this audio chunk of his latest, Escape from the Commodore 64.
On this screen, you'll see the approaching target, city, whatever. Not even I know what to call it. I just know we need to take out as many of the bad guys as possible. More baddies destroyed equals more money and keys for us. Then we can buy our way out of here and into the next game. Right, Sarah gave a firm nod. I think I remember Reese playing this one. He was obsessed with it. I don't remember it being a shoot 'em up. It was more a, virtual 3D world. Well, Nell said, apparently the new mayor has made some changes, adding more action than the programmer intended. Sarah looked at her blankly. In other words, he's made our lives harder.
You see, I told you it was good. Now do you believe me? To grab one for yourself, and indeed any of the other works from David, visit davidhearnwriter.com. That's David, Hearne writer.com. It's as easy as typing in some words.
And we are back. Got 4 more games to get through, so let's not waste any time and get straight into them. And Graham, we have a $2.99 powerhouse here, a silver medal, Zybex. Tell us all about it.
Zybex. This is from Zeppelin. The coder here was Kevin Franklin. Now, these are actually turned out to be quite an interesting bunch, this little bunch. Kevin Franklin later goes on to do Draconis, and now Draconis is quite a neat little game that comes later. Graphics here by Michael Owens, who also goes on to do Draconis. Title screen was Michael Owens. Same guy. There isn't just a coincidental name of 2 people. But you're called Michael Owens, so that's weird.
Multiple Michael Owens, which is a footballer. What's he doing?
Well, what's he doing here? And the musician Adam Gilmour, or Gizmo. Adam Gilmour has actually turns in some really good music later down the line. The music in here isn't bad anyway. The inlay is interesting for this. So outside of the loading instructions, it says this game is just too good to believe and is about the best arcade game you can imagine. This is on their own cover. Brilliant graphics, superb music and sound effects, and the kind of slick games play that will have you itching for just one more go. The story has 2 rebels, Rincer and Castellana, on an almost suicidal mission to escape the nightmare that is death row. Weird that you'd be suicidal mission to escape death. Never mind. To earn a stay of execution, they must penetrate the very heart of many strange worlds and collect from each a teleport crystal. Each crystal gives them access to another fantastic world until the excited player reaches the restricted levels and the ultimate challenge, Zybex itself. The last Zybex crystal, it says the last, Zybex, crystal. Anyway, the last Zybex crystal is all-powerful and will ensure your captors will remove the death rings from your necks. Okay. Shoot your way through the bizarre and colourful aliens and find exotic weapons whose differing powers are a joy to discover and use. Each weapon delivers an ever more powerful blast as you pick up more of the same weapon type.
What?
Okay, let's quiet down there now. Okay. So it's a horizontal shoot 'em up, somewhat inspired, and I'm saying this kindly, by Sidearms, to say the least, at least, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The aim here is to get, obviously, Rincer and Castellana through the 16 increasingly difficult levels, collecting the Zybex crystals at the end to progress. You start on the world of Arcturus, and as you finish that, the next one is chosen at random from the others. You are attacked by waves of enemies in the standard shoot 'em up way, and of course you can collect upgrades. Of course you can. It would be stupid of this game not to have upgrades. These are bullet gun, 8-way, pulse, wall, and rail, and each have 4 independent strength variants. Interestingly, firing in this is a constant, and you use your fire button to select the different weapons. I actually quite liked that. I'll tell you now.
It's very mobile-esque.
Yes, but I quite liked it. There's parts I didn't like, but I like that. The weapon system in that sense is quite unique in that way. And like you say, as you say, very mobile-esque. So the player constantly fires, the fire button changes your current weapon. The basic weapon is the Orbiter, which the player always has. Picking up weapons icons increase the power of the weapon by 1, as I've said, going all the way up to 4. Dying reduces your weapon by 1 power level, or loses it if the weapon is at power 1, which I also quite liked. I quite like the way that worked, with the exception of Orbiter, which you can't lose, obviously. As the weapons get more powerful, their fire rate becomes faster, the bullets become stronger. The 5 weapons, as I said, Orbiter and all the rest of it, we've gone through all of those. I think this is a pretty decent shooter, all said and done, especially for £3. The graphics are pretty good, a little bit on the bitty side, I felt, a little bit. The scrolling's a little bit not quite smooth, and that's a little bit annoying, but I might be able to put that to one side. It's the sort of standard side-scrolling shooter format, really. So you move across, there's things you need to avoid, and obviously these things fly at you near the patterns or right at you. There's slightly less patterns here, I think, but they are still there. There's loads of stars in the background, which I found a little bit disconcerting. I think they could have just reduced to their star count, and that would have upped the frame rate, I think.
I think so as well,
The screen's quite busy. Felt really busy, and that's a little bit distracting.
It's quite nice to have
less is more.
Like the parallax starfield is a nice effect, not just one layer.
Yeah, it's a nice idea, but it's just a little bit...
There's too many.
It's just I think
reduce stars by 50%.
Yeah, it's just too many notes. Just check a few out and it'll be fine. So the animations and the scrolling are a little bit jittery for me, and the stars, I say, it's too dotty. But I'm picking at little things, really. This feels closer to Sidearms than anything else, and that's a pretty good thing. And it's a good two-player game, this as well. The sounds and the music are actually quite decent here on the whole, and I actually found myself quite liking this because it kept... all the things we said about Sidearms, strangely enough, about the control system, they're all kind of corrected for this. It's got more of the weaponry, more of the upgrades that sort of almost match Sidearms, and you get the kind of little... because you can collect these little dots that rotate around you as well, which is quite nice.
Yep.
So those things that they said were impossible to do in Sidearms when they asked the developers, can we have the rotatey blobs? Like, no, we can't do that. It's impossible. C64's not capable of rotatey blobs. I beg to differ, said the people who made Zybex. Yeah. So you got the rotatey blobs and all of look and feel. I found myself quite liking this generally. I think it has the feel of something a bit more expensive overall, and it's not a bad little shoot 'em up. It's just a little bit jittery. There's some clever choices in here about how it works, and I think that's to be commended. The layout of the graphics and everything is standard side scrolling stuff, and it is a bit busy, but there's a good game to be had, a good two-player game to be had in here. And for £3, I've seen way worse side-scrolling shoot 'em ups than this at full price. I've seen way worse top-down scrollers shoot 'em ups than this for this price. This isn't bad. Got a good silver medal rating in Zapped. It's 93% is, I suppose for a budget game, it's good. It's probably maybe a tad high because there are little issues here and there. But I quite liked it. Now, I thought it was a different game the one in my mind before I played this. I don't quite know what I was thinking it was, but I think I'd amalgamated Z Out and X Out and a few other different Z games into this one thing. So when I got to this, I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting it to be more like Cybernoid in my head, I don't know why, than Zybex. I'm not sure what I'd conflated it with. And I think there's a Houston shoot 'em up as well that I'd put into it as well at some point. It wasn't what I expected. So when I loaded it up, I thought, actually, this is pretty nifty. Hats off. I think this is their first game as well. At least I think it's the first one that's out.
I think so.
I think they've done a bad job for this. It's not bad at all. So I thought, yes, good choices made here. Good design choices. Keeping the shooting going is a good thing. So I'd have to focus on that. I can think about staying out of the way of the bullets, which there's quite a lot of, and a lot of the enemies. That ain't bad. There's a good offset of balance. Nice to see that. People thinking about how they're making these games now. Good ideas. Good ideas in there. Just a little bit jittery, but you know what? They'll probably fix those bugs in later games. What about you?
Yeah, so this is an interesting take on the Sidearms kind of shooter, but in budget format. Nice presentation throughout. It's a good tune on the title screen. I really like the tune. I was listening to it for quite a while. I was just letting that play while I was writing my review.
Yeah, it is a good one.
And so I was quite happy to just have that burbling along in the background. Some really nice visuals. Backgrounds are really nice. Not quite IO level, but not, they're good. They're
better than £3 worth.
Better than £3 worth, yeah. And nice sound effects as well, I like the sort of thwomp, thwomp, the different sounds the lasers made and stuff. And
yeah, the sounds were good.
So I thought there's some good thought there. And I do like the different weapons were nice as well. The ability to play one or two players is good to see. And the unusual control format that fire is simply used to select weapons is an interesting one. Works most of the time. There's some points where I would have just liked to have been hammering it, but you can hammer it, can't you? Because it kind of stops the bullets firing. So it's kind of a strange one, but it just, unless you've got more than one weapon, then it doesn't work like that at all. But that's by the by. There's a lot to like here for £3. I think this is a worthy addition to the budget shooter range at the top end, really, and wouldn't look out of place if it was a little bit more expensive. It's hard though. I thought the collision detection is a little off at times. There was occasions when I thought, but then again, it also works in the other way as well, because sometimes I thought, I'm going to die there, and I didn't die. So, but it's a bit. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. So it can be a bit frustrating in that respect. I didn't like... There was some weirdness about it, though. The fact that some patterns can be randomly obscured behind a landscape is also frustrating at times. Because due to the nature of the way the game is designed, the next wave doesn't appear until the previous one is either destroyed or passes off screen, doesn't it? So you have to wait for them to go off. So sometimes, like, there's a bit right in the beginning where there's a load of grey ones just appear near the bottom, and there's usually a sort of wall in front of them, so you can't get to them. So you just have to kind of just stay at the top of the screen, just twiddling your thumbs a little bit, waiting for them to scroll off screen, because the next wave won't come and you can't get down to them to kill them because you can't shoot through the wall and they're too close. Anyway, so there's little bits like that which sort of, show off some minor instances. And also as well, it's kind of weird because if you do destroy waves quicker, then other waves will appear in different parts of the landscape, because the landscape's constant, but the waves come on as soon as then that one is destroyed. So it's kind of a bit strange, but it's interesting. That said, there's fun to be had here. At the price, it's a bargain. 16 waves as well, 16 levels as far as well. So, and interesting, and one load, as far as I'm aware, isn't it? Just one load. 16 levels, one load, and sidearms, 8 levels, multi-load. Weird.
Yeah, take that, sidearms.
So yeah, and like you said, they did these spinny things around. So the protector, the loads of more different weapons. You can swap between them quite nicely by just pressing the fire button. It's all good. I mean, one of the reviewers in the Zapped review just said, given a choice between this and the conversion of sidearms, I know which I'd choose. And I think he's right. This was a better version. And like we did say in the review of sidearms, that just keep you facing right.
Yes, we did.
We did. We said something needs to change, and because what they picked in that game didn't work. And this shows that if they just kept you facing right and having you shooting would have been much better, and which is what we kind of said. But yeah, this was an interesting budget title with some nice ideas, and it was tough. But I imagine with 2 players, this is great. I didn't get to play it with 2 players, but I was impressed with this. Yeah, enjoyed my time. It was a good blast. And that music's really good. I really like the music. Don't know who he was. Never heard anything by him before. But
Adam Gilmore. Yeah, you'll have heard Draconis because we used one of the interstitials in the podcast.
Oh, maybe then. But it's not something I'm fully aware of, should we say. But yeah, good stuff. Zybex. Unusual, but 93%. Yeah, I suppose for £3. Yeah, don't see why not. Good stuff. There we go. Let's move on. To another one, Point X. Point X is our next one. Full price. It's got 51%. Straight. So we've just had a horizontal shooter based on an arcade game. Now we have another shooter, vertical style, also based on an arcade game. But this one is a shameless Xevious clone. Shameless. Yeah, Point X. I'm guessing the X stands for Xevious. It's as derivative as they come. This is Xevious, really. It's not, let's not beat around the bush here. It's programmed by M. Beach. That's M, the initial M, Beach, with co-programming by Jimmy, graphics by Lloyd, and music by Boone.
Okay, fair enough.
But to give them their real names, it's Magnus Strand, Jimmy Carlson, and Bo Melberg on audio. Still just Lloyd on visuals, though. Don't know who he is. Lloyd. Anyway, the first thing that will hit you when this loads up is the music. And it's a raucous din of awful proportions.
Oh, God, that music.
It's all over the place. There's just bits firing off in all directions. I actually thought that my version might be bugged. I thought, is this not running properly? Is something happened here? But so I looked at the review in Zapped, and they mentioned the same in their review about the cacophonous noise. So it's just a noisy, annoying intro tune. It's crazy. The title screen is odd as well. I'm going to use that word a lot here, odd, because this game feels odd. There's something odd about this game. It's weird. There's nothing on the title screen really, but there's lots on the title screen, but there's not really much. You've got some keys to press, F1 to pause, so some instructions, F3 and 5 to raise or lower the volume, and you want to press F3 a lot to knock that title screen
You'll
music
need that
down.
one.
Yeah, and F7 to self-destruct in game if you just want to reset. All this is over a scrolling bas-relief squares. They're just scrolling bas-relief squares.
Very strange.
And it's got the name Point X in massive capitals at the top of the screen. It looks really strange. It's like soft. There's something weird about the way this looks. A quick jab of the fire button and we're straight into the game, and you want to jab it quickly to get away from that music. There's no preamble to this. This is quick switch to a black screen, and then we have our black outline craft flying up a green background with some grey paths and the Xevious target reticule in front of us. It looks like Xevious. They've used the middle half of the screen to make the play area ratio closer to the aspect ratio of the arcades, and I thought this is the first some nice touches this game has. So it's taller than it is wide, so they've gone for that aspect ratio. So the UI is minimalist, shall we say, to say the least. Having just a score and your energy bar in the bottom left of the screen. So that's it. There's two black bars down the left and right screen. There's nothing in them apart from the bottom left. There's a score and a bar. So this game has an energy bar, which is unusual for a shoot 'em up. So when you take hits, it slowly reduces, and when it runs out, you die and it's game over. So there's a different kind of feel to this, in that you're not so worried about taking hits, immediate hits, until you get down a bit. But so like in most games, you get shot, you get respawned, and you carry on. And this is a bit of a different flow to it. There's a different feel. What I mean, it's an odd game. I thought the visuals were pretty solid, really. The backgrounds are quite nice. There's some really nice wave formations, and the animations as well on the sprites, like the ones where the aircraft come down and flip and fly away from you. Some really nice smooth animation going on in this. The land emplacements fire at you, so there's bits, but they only certain ones. So there's ones with so like Xevious, you can bomb stuff on the floor. So they fire. Some of them fire at you. The planes sometimes fire at you, but they don't have a dead eye shot. So they don't fire all the time where you are. Sometimes they'll just shoot near you, which is, gives you a chance. You can kind of guide yourself away from them a little bit more. It's not like we've seen in so many other shooters like Flying Shark, or its American version Sky Shark, and IO earlier on, where it's just everything is just aimed at you immediately. So you're constantly having to move. This doesn't have that. So it feels a little more welcoming. There's something about it. It's weird. There's a relaxed atmosphere to this. The landscape scrolls past. There's no music. It just scrolls past like Xevious style. Targets appear. So on the floor, you've got these land emplacements, and these can either be benign, they're just there, or they will have these little black dots on them, and they shoot at you as well. You don't need to press any keys or anything like that. You just place your target over them, and you instantly bomb them, which is, again, another nice touch. You just instantly shoot them, you just bombing all the time. So that's quite nice. You don't have to do two things at once. I thought this is there's multi-levels. I think there's 10 levels to get through. And when you get to the end of a level, it just kind of stops. You go over a bit of a forest, it stops, it gives you a score, well done. And then you're on to the next level. I thought this is probably the best version of Xevious we have had to play. There's a couple we've had, and this is by far better than anything else. It does have some strange oversights, though. The most glaring of which is no high score. What's the point of a shoot-'em-up game with no high score? There's not even records. There's not even just a high score table. There's no high score. There's no recording of scores, which is weird. It's a shoot-'em-up game. You have high scores, and also the game has power-ups, but they're almost impossible to collect. Almost impossible, because they whiz by really fast and you don't really have enough speed to get to them. But should you collect them, and they all look the same apart from the different colours, they come whizzing down, so there's no real sort of indication sometimes of what they do. So the best I could make of it, I think the yellow ones give you some energy back. The red ones make you into like a wider ship that fires 4 bullets instead of 1. The white ones make you slightly faster. And I think there's one that's orange, I think that changes you into a 2-bullet wide ship, so slightly wider, but you only fire 2 bullets. There's other colours as well. I caught a purple one, I think, or a blue one. I couldn't discern any difference or anything that it did. Maybe it was just for points. I don't know. And they're all randomly dispersed. They kind of come at the same time, but you don't know what colour you're going to get, and they don't where they are on the screen. So good luck in catching any of them. It's really, I found it really hard to try and nail down exactly what they did. So that was tricky. On the whole, though, I thought with a little bit more around the edges, this could have been very good. It's hard. It's Xevious. There's no doubt in that. So it's whether you like Xevious or not. But its visuals and style seems to be it feels like it's from another computer or an old arcade game. They've captured a feel of like old arcade look and feel, and it doesn't look or feel like a C64 game somehow. It's really hard to put my finger on what exactly it is about it. There's just something odd in this game. It's not brilliant, but like I said, it's the best Xevious game we have. It got 51%. I think it's a bit too low. 10 levels to work through, and I think the use of the energy bar, it's very hard. You lose a lot of it, but once you get used to it, you can kind of get quite far. The energy bars, I think, is an interesting addition to the genre. We've not really seen it, and I think it adds something different. There is another problem, though. I don't know if I mentioned that when you go from level to level, you lose any power-ups, and that's a bit of a downer. So that kind of negates getting them, because if you want to, you should feel more powerful going into the later levels, but you're not. You're always reduced to your base status as you start each level. So, it's Xevious. Your mileage with this is going to vary depending on just how much you like it, I guess, that original, because this feels very Xevious. It is Xevious. It's the best version of Xevious we have on this machine. But I enjoyed my time with this. It's simple. It is what it is. It's what was Xevious, 1983?
Something like that.
So it's an old style game, but it's a well done old style game, I guess. And that's probably the best I can say about it. I did enjoy it, but it's that kind of thing. What about you? What did you think to this?
Average.
Yeah.
This is as average as it gets. Another top-down shooter that's average. Influenced by any million and number of other games, but principally, as you say, Xevious. It's very sparse, this, which is, I think, one of the big problems that I have.
It is, yeah.
So it's just, the graphics are okay. There's nothing particularly wrong with them. They are a little bit out of time. In an episode where we've got IO, the graphics look like they've been drawn by a 5-year-old in comparison, but they are functional and they do what they're supposed to do in the context of this game. But they're just a bit sparse. The enemies, and maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. It gives you room to breathe, I suppose. You're not got enemies piling on you every second, but just feels a little bit like a big empty void space with a few bits in it. Okay. The gameplay area is, like you say, been framed to be a little bit smaller, maybe. It's playable. I think it's a bit expensive for what it is.
I think so as well, yeah. As a budget title, this would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been, actually. And the music is very drum and tom-tom heavy. It's like someone discovered they had some kind of drum kit and just set off the demo mode on 50 keyboards at once or something.
Yep.
It's just loud and annoying, but you can sort of bypass that because you can turn it down and get past it quick enough. It's just borrowing a lot from other games. Do they do it better? I don't know. Maybe the budget ones, maybe. But some of the full-price older titles that are quite good, Light Force and things like that, were probably out on budget by now, and I don't know if Point X is just a bit expensive and a bit out of time.
Yes, I think that's right.
But there are good things to commend with it, as you say. I quite like the way that you just pulled down to drop your bomb, and that was nice and simple, and it just things that it did instinctively were quite good. And I actually quite like the energy feature. That was quite a nice idea. Nice to see something like that again. They're thinking a little bit about player affordance. That's an interesting thing because IO didn't, and that had all the graphics and whiz-bangery in the world. Just shows you that if you'd have combined the thought for the player between this Zybex and IO and put them into IO, you'd have had a really formidable game. Just a pity they're not all combined into one contingent thing. But nah, this was average, and I think 50%'s about right. It's a bit out of time, and it's a bit expensive to be any higher than that. But give it a budget, give it $199, and you'd have had a good contender at something, I think. Yeah.
I think you're right. I think I didn't take that into consideration. Was the price $9.99 probably does smack it straight into the 50% range, and I think you're right on that. But yeah, if this was a budget title, and it's not surprising that it looks like it borrows from other games because I think everything borrows from Xevious, and this is just Xevious, so it's kind of
totally
it's kind of doing that kind of loop bit. It's kind of like Xevious came first, loads of stuff borrowed for it, and then somebody's just doing Xevious.
I mean, it's not doing anything offensive. It's just doing something quite expensively, which perhaps it shouldn't. But
didn't have the spinny tables that Xevious had.
It's just a bit void of stuff. I mean, there's enemies in there. Like you say, they've collectible things are basically not collectible things. They fly past like a missile. What was that? I was like, do I collect those? Oh, I do collect them. I managed to get the 4 shooty thing upgrade, which was quite cool. It does feel like you're upgrading. There's stuff to like in there, but it's just a little bit sparse and a little bit expensive. Shame.
Yeah, I think you're right. There we go. Point X. Not terrible, not brilliant, but just all right. Xevious. Let's move on to our next one. And let us question our scruples in a question of scruples, Graham.
Pointless exercises sometimes, aren't they? C64 games sometimes.
Yep.
Somebody should have said at some point this was a stupid thing to do, but they didn't. But at the same time, the person went, we can charge £12.95 for it. So I went, all right, that's not a good price for anything because you're basically, well, we'll come to it. You'll understand what I mean in a moment. It's got 41% in the Zapped review. This is from Leisure Genius / Virgin Games. Copyright, of course, is Hasbro. The codia was Sentient Software, the graphic Sentient Software. I don't know who that comprises. I didn't dive that far into it. So A Question of Scruples. A Question of Scruples itself is a card game based on ethical dilemmas. The game was invented by Henry Macau in 1984. Players are given 5 yellow cards apiece, each yellow card with a moral dilemma, such as you accidentally damage a car in a car park. Do you leave a note with your name and number? ? Each player also has a single red card with either a yes, no, or depends printed upon it. The player must ask the question on a yellow card of the person whom the holder of the yellow card believes most likely to reply with the answer on the questioner's red card. That makes sense.
Yes, it does.
The game thus tests how well players know each other. Now, just hold on to that important fact. The game thus tests how well players know each other. Very important. If the answer matches that on the red card, the questioner discards both yellow card and red card, then takes another red card. The game is won by the player who first discards all 5 of his or her yellow cards, or their, yellow cards. Okay, that's how you play the actual game, because this is a physical game made computer flesh, and not in a good way.
Ew.
Don't long live the new flesh.
Not in this case.
So this is a C64 conversion of that into a game. Okay, the game is for 3 to 10 players. Good thing, that. Which could all be computer players. Bad thing, that. Bad thing. I don't see why anyone would think that this game would work at all in any way, shape, or form. At all, anywhere. Anyway, you can choose a face when you play this game. So choose your face. And it's basically a kind of-ish version of the board game played out. And I'm being kind. The game plays weirdly because you're prompted to give a reason for your reply from a list of things. It formalizes the constructs of a game that deliberately requires no formal constructs. It's an idea of testing someone's morality and their scruples. This isn't something where your scruples can't be dictated to you by a selection criteria. And that is a problem, isn't it, in a game that isn't reliant on that. So this game isn't about scruples. This is a multi-choice game. This is just about choosing multi-choice things and multiple choice, which is no good. It's no good. That's not fundamentally, that is not the game that they've set out to make at all. So not only does it play weirdly, it doesn't allow the kind of things that this game does, which is the fun part of this is when you've got friends in the room and they're confessing to something that you think, oh my God, and that's the whole thing. You're challenged with a moral dilemma, and what would your reaction be? And this game can cause a lot of arguments in friendships as well. I've heard ruminations that this game can really it can split people up and it split relationships up. This kind of thing. But anyway, so to try and emulate that in this is impossible because really you're playing through graphic versions of this with multi-choice responses, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So it's not fun. And that's the other key part of this game is that, the idea of challenging someone's scruples is fun. It's not fun if you do it like this at all. This reminds me of that Jack Charlton fishing game. Pointless. It's a pointless thing to do. From a looks point of view, the board game looks better. That's all I'm saying. It just looks better. The board game, the card game. Get the card game. It looks better than this. This is some high-res graphics unpleasantness that doesn't really help matters. It's scrunching a game that doesn't need to be on a screen and focusing it on a screen with deliberately horrible graphics to look at, which isn't nice.
Nope.
There must have been a better way to implement this. Or I think this is just a suggestion I'm going to pack there. Don't make this board game this board card game into a computer game at all. Don't do it because it's not. It doesn't work. Some things are just better in person, and this game is reliant on you having friends in the room, not AI variants, Commodore 64 AI variants of people that you have no knowledge of. How can you assess the scruples of somebody you don't know? It's impossible. It defeats the purpose of playing the game. And even if you have people that you do know, why would you choose to do it round a TV screen and have multi-choice responses that you have to choose from as a kind of reply back, as opposed to actually going through the pain of having to confess to something and not that person, and maybe knowing less about that person than you might otherwise have thought, or think more or less of them. I don't know. It doesn't work. This, for me, obviously, it is a complete misfire and a mistake. Can you imagine, for example, if you played a game of Cards Against Humanity and it was played out like this?
No.
It wouldn't work. It would not work for the exact same reason. You're reliant on people. This relies fundamentally on human beings to interact with each other. Take that away, and you haven't got a scruple. And you haven't got a scruple because it's impossible. So I thought this was stupid. I actually quite like the game of Scruples. I say it can be a very challenging game to play with the wrong people. But at the same time, this is just stupid. And 13 quid, it's probably about as much as the actual game to buy physically. So go and buy it physically. You'll have more fun. Have a few drinks with it as well. Don't go bring all your mates around, all 10 of them. And go, right, everyone, get around this 14-inch cut portable I've got and look at these graphics. They're hitting my eyes. No, they're not. You're just saying that because that's the kind of guy you are. Oh, better than that. If you actually want to play the real life variant of this version of Question of Scruples, go out and invite complete strangers round to your house and sit there and play the actual game with them because you won't know anything about them. So you won't know whether they're challenging their scruples or not. That's the equivalent. Stupid begets stupid. Why do this? Why? I hated it. It was a stupid idea. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm saying a really pointless endeavor this in single player and not, and partly in multiplayer, but especially in single player. What's the point? What is it? Playing against some random faces and AI. It's not Scruples. It's not, I played I played this back in the day. We used to have it. It used to be a very interesting game because the variety of answers you would get and the discussion that would spring up around these answers. You wouldn't do that. No, you wouldn't do that.
You're not that kind of person, are you?
I'm challenging that. Have you ever done this? But yes. You haven't.
You'd actually do a shit in your friend's dustbin.
Absolutely, yeah. So
Gary, take note.
Would they really do that? That's it. Is this what someone really thinks of me? And so on and so on. That's people go. You wouldn't do that.
That's the scruple part.
Yeah, that's the scruples. Like no, I would stand up for someone, but I wouldn't. Whatever. It's as you said, it's a social, interactive experience. This game, and that's what drove it. That's what made it so popular. Not this. All of this is lost. With only 4 answers to give, even in multiplayer, that's just stupid and over programs it. It feels like such an odd thing to convert because this is one game where the joy and enjoyment is predicated on the social interaction. It's a mechanically light game, really, in general.
Yeah.
In the actual gameplay, so suffers massively when converted to a digital platform. I don't know why they limited it to 4 answers. They could have just left it open to yes, no, and depends, and still allowed the discussion to happen in multiplayer, and then just gone right now. You've decided. Okay, right now, tell us what happened. Even then, but like you rightly said, this is a cumbersome way to play the game. The original board game is probably around the same price, maybe a little bit more expensive, but so what? You're going to get way more out of it. I would say that whoever okayed this conversion was lacking some scruples, as this is obviously nothing more than a cash-in. And it's on loads of different platforms as well. It was on the Amstrad, Spectrum, DOS, Atari ST, Apple II. It really went for it with this. And it's dreadful. It's just a pointless exercise in a pointless, games like Monopoly, okay, fair enough, because it's luck-based and you're buying stuff and there's things to do and you can get those kind of board games and you kind of understand. And board games can work with computer games. Things like that Brian Clough's football one used to be brilliant.
Absolutely.
Because the computer did all the random stuff and all the football stuff and you had the board game. So it can work. This is a card game built around people talking to each other.
Yep.
This is an anathema to video games.
Absolutely. The next one after this will be Pictionary, where you have to draw what you want with the joystick on like a koala pad.
Or it'll be that. What was the other one? The one where you had to do, it'll be Cranium, where you had to mold the stuff, or the you get the clay and you have to make models.
The dough one, yeah. What's it? I can't remember what it's called now.
I can't remember. Rapido.
Yeah, Rapido. Yeah.
And so, but this is just stupid, and like you said, utterly pointless. And I didn't get it. And it was crap to play as well. And that's stupid. What were you supposed to make of that graph of the people? You're like, it's strong integrity
stupid.
Here and less there. And what does all this mean?
Nothing. It was just, that's like I said, it was just screen waffle trying to mask the fact that they'd ruined something that was actually quite fun.
And it was stupid to watch as well, because I played it in like 4-player with like 3 computer players, and it was stupid to watch them challenging each other.
Yeah, it's like I said, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Like, what's going on?
You wouldn't say that. You're not real, none of you.
Who are you talking? There's nothing happening. What's going on here? John, are you in the bedroom talking to people? No, ma'am. It's the Scruples. The Scruples people are telling me I'm lying.
Just be grateful they didn't add speech to it. No, you wouldn't do that, would you? Like, oh my God, it'd be terrifying.
I don't think you do that, John.
There is no way you would drink that much lager.
Awful. Although that would have made it better, actually.
It would have made it better.
It would have been way better. But this was crap.
We are available for all kids' parties, by the way.
Absolutely.
With our speak and spell magic, as we like to call it.
Yeah.
It's the speak and spell stand-up comedian. Hello there. I like who I'm looking at.
And then later on we become Big Mouth.
Riding on a big track on stage. That'd be cool.
8 forward, cool. 8 forward, 8 forward.
No. I meant 18. Oh, no.
4 to the right, 4 to the right.
Drop apple.
Not from there. Where'd the apple come from? Don't ask. It's best you don't know.
Christ, I've got the trailer in the back of this big track. It cost me an extra 75 quid.
Would you like some pips?
To be fair, the batteries wouldn't last that long. He'd be like, beep, boop, boop, zoom. Oh, the batteries have run out. I am not designed to carry this carriage. Get off. Get off.
Big track, no more.
Big track, broken.
Pray for big track.
It said it could hold my weight.
It said it was like an ant.
It said it could hold, if it was the size of a cat, it could hold a speedboat. You bloody liars.
Where'd this apple come from?
That's the big track comedian, everyone. Big track, here he is. He's leaving the stage very slowly now.
He's slowly. Oh no, he's not gone far enough.
His batteries run out.
8 forward.
Oh, he's gone left. He didn't expect that, did he? Didn't expect to go left there. Oh, his rubber band's come off one of the tracks. That's why.
He's just going around in a circle. we'll help him off later.
The curtains have just come across now. That's it.
On him. Just a bulge in the curtains. Get off me. Get off me.
It won't accept my commands. I want to live.
Pray for Big Track.
Big Track lives. just goes off into the distance. Where's it going to go? We don't know. On wild adventures.
Do. The littlest Big Track.
The littlest Big Track. Every time he stops, he makes a new friend.
Don't program him badly. He'll turn around and turn around again.
He'll just keep moving on if you press the right button combination.
Until his batteries run out.
Until his batteries run out in 2 minutes.
Scruples, then.
Because it was crap. Stupid idea.
Led us to Big Track nonsense. There we go. Question of Scruples was rubbish. Big Track's great, though. All right, moving on. One more game. And that game is another budget shooter. It is Battle Valley, another budget shooter. This time with a side order. Well, actually, it's not because this came out before it, but a little bit of Silkworm in here. Silkworm. But, you know, but this comes out before Silkworm. There you go. This is Battle Valley from Racket. I think it's Racket, isn't it? With presentation by Simon Wellard and Mark Washbrook. Coding by Simon Wellard. Graphics by Mark Washbrook. And audio by Charles Deenan and Jerome Tell,
otherwise known as the Maniacs of Noise.
Is that them too? Is it?
Yes, they formed Maniacs of Noise.
I did
Charles
wonder
Deenan
if it was those two. Yeah, I wasn't sure, but I did think that was the case. I knew you would. Another C64 Sid Legends makes their appearance. The decent title screen piece of music. I'm not sure the split on duties here. Do they? I don't know how they work together. You probably know that better than I do.
I'm not sure on this one actually. We'll have to contact Jerome and ask him.
Yeah, it's a good piece of music though. That's for sure. It's a nice tune. This. In fact, the whole front end of this shows a good deal of care and consideration. There's a nice military font in place, like a good font, and some nice cinematic fading of credits on the title screen, along with a strangely, I have to say, out of place visual effect going on around it.
It is quite like zibby zabby zappy in the background, isn't it?
And I think a black background rather than the blue one would have looked better.
It would have been a bit more sci-fi, I think, wouldn't it? It would have lent itself to it a bit better.
I think, that blue just looks weird. It's like you said about the brown earlier on, and it's wrong choice colour.
Yes, it does look weird. It does.
Anyway, it looks way above a lot of the budget fare we've seen recently. Reminded me of that other one we got from Racket, the guy who did Nebulous, Starburst, Sunburst, whatever it was.
That's pretty good as well.
So stab of the fire button, we get some options. We can have 1 or 2 players, music on or off through the game, so musical sound effects, and whether to have double fire mode on or off. Double fire mode. But I'll explain what that is later on. Once chosen, we press the fire button and we're into the game. It seems that despite the world's best efforts to get rid of all the nukes, terrorists have stolen 2 of them and secreted them at either end of the titular Battle Valley. Starting in the center of the valley, you have 30 minutes to take out both missiles, because should you not do this, then civilization will end in a horrendous firestorm. I can only note that these must be pretty powerful nukes for just 2 of them to take out the world, but what do I know?
You mean they'll blow up half the world each?
They really will. I'm no nuclear physicist, so what do I know? When the game starts, we're presented with our home base, and what we have here is a bi-directional shooter where you can control either a helicopter or a tank. At the start, pushing up launches a helicopter, or moving to the left or right starts the tank moving. So you just choose it that way. So it's quite simple. The first thing you notice is the slightly odd control system you got going on here. No matter which way you've chosen and started to move, and despite this being a bi-directional scroller, the craft always keeps going in that direction, and you kind of play it more like a side-scrolling shooter. So once it starts scrolling, it just starts. The scrolling speed is set. you don't speed the scrolling up or anything. You actually move around within the screen space of its scrolling. So it's kind of like Nemesis and all those kind of things. So it's a set speed.
Yeah.
So you're always facing that way. It's like, but it's also got an element of Defender in a certain way, because the only way to turn round is to either hit the space bar or jab the fire button twice if you've got that double fire mode on. So that's like Defender, isn't it? Where you hit a button to turn around and face you the direction. So if you press the space bar or double tap, you stop, and then you stop scrolling, and you kind of sort of turn to face the screen. The tank or the helicopter turns to face the screen, and in that way, you can then choose to head in the opposite direction and start scrolling the other way, or you can just go back the way, carry on in the same direction. It's up to you. My recommendation is to turn double fire mode off and use the space bar, because
yes, I agree.
I like to hammer the fire button to shoot, so I just kept finding myself stopping and go, hey, stop it, turn it off. It's much better. You don't need to stop that often, so you can do it with the space bar. It's not that fast a game where you need to do it a lot, so you can easily do it with the space bar. That's what I found anyway. It's the same for both the tank and the helicopter, that control system, so no matter which one you control it, they control exactly the same. The only difference is the tank you can move it, so the helicopter moves up and down as well, in this, because it's obviously flying. The tank's up and down controls the angle of its turret, so you can fire up and slightly downwards as well as you're moving. Obviously, the way across the valley is not easy, and there are plenty of things in your way to try and destroy you. You've got enemy fighters, SAM missiles, there's all kinds of stuff coming in, there's rockets, missiles, all kinds of stuff, all manner of other military paraphernalia to blow you up is coming in on you. As you take hits, you're notified on the UI on the bottom of the damage status, which moves from light to medium to we're all gonna die, probably. The UI at the bottom is quite simple, with the player currently playing in the bottom left. The countdown to Armageddon is in the bottom right, and the number of rockets for the helicopter and shells for the tank are in the middle, this UI at the bottom. The rest of the screen is taken up with the smooth scrolling play area. As you progress through the level, you'll find broken bridges. These need to be fixed by the helicopter, which has a winch. You have to pick up barrels, I think, don't you, and drop them on it. I can't remember. Which has a winch to let the tank travel over. So you've got to fix the bridges so the tank can get there, because only the tank can take it, because you find enemy bases as you progress. Only the tank can take over the enemy bases. That allows your helicopter to land on them. And if you do this, you can restart from those bases, I believe. I never managed to achieve this because I'm rubbish. But the instructions say to press delete. That's the Spectrum version, so it might be the same on the C64 version. And that allows you to transfer to the farthest captured base on the far side of the HQ, which is good should you die, because if you die, you go back into the middle of the middle of the map, and you've got to make your way all the way back out to the left or the right, losing precious seconds and timer. Because that's also a problem, because should you die, if you hit the ground in the helicopter, you'll die. If you hit an enemy object that's on the ground, you'll die. If you try and land on something that you can't hit, you'll die. Or if you run out of energy to fly, you'll die. You lose 5 minutes of the countdown timer, and you've only got 30 minutes. So essentially, at most, you've got like 6 lives before you're out of time, and it's game over in Armageddon. So that's what you got to do. You got to work your way out to either end of this map and disarm these bombs. It's quite tricky. You've only got a limited amount of time. You've got to fix the bridges with your helicopter, get the tanks out there, and they both start from the middle. So you can shoot a lot of this stuff in the helicopter as you're making your way out there, and so that then you go out as a tank. The graphics in this I thought were quite smart. Someone in the Zapped review said they were amazingly realistic. They're not quite, but they're still they're still good. They're still pretty good overall. There's some very smooth scrolling with multiple levels of parallax, which is quite nice to see, and it's all very nice. There's even some parallax scrolling on the animated water as you go over the bridges as well. And that's very good as well. The helicopter and the tank, they're big, well drawn, and well animated. The controls are snappy and responsive. The background themselves are a little samey, but they're all right. But they're well drawn. It's not IO quality, but it's still pretty decent. And the play area is pretty big. You get a lot to move around in. The landscapes that you trundle along with the tank is varied. You got to go up and down hills and over dale and down mountains sort of thing. But there's the helicopter. You can try to dip in and blow stuff up and take it out. So that's the whole point. I like the fact that enemies you destroy stay dead should you die. So you can clean the level out with your helicopter, repair the bridges, and then get your tank to come out. And you kind of everything's gone. It's maybe a few that you weren't able to get to, and there's some you won't be able to get to, and that's quite nice. So your damage to your tank will be less as you're heading outwards. So that's quite good as well. And also the game, it's not down to lives, as I said, but it's down to completing the mission in the time allowed. So if you keep dying, you're only going to die 6 times, because that's 6 times 5, 30 minutes, game over. But it doesn't feel like you've got a number of lives, but that's just, and you can take your helicopter back to base as well and land it and then you can head out in the tank. So that's quite nice and quite a good idea. It does take a while though, because these levels are quite big. It's one single continuous level either way, and it's quite massive. So it takes a bit while. I think maybe a faster scroll would have been slightly bit nicer or something, or a turbo boost, something to head back or whatever. It's just something, but because it can be quite boring heading back if you cleared out all the enemies on the way out. Just have to fly back and go do. Might be worth just killing yourself, but probably not. I couldn't find any other listing for Simon Wellard. I think this is his only game. It seems to be a bit of a shame, really. It's very competently programmed, this, and it's quite well designed, I thought. And it asks you to use your brain a bit. You've got to figure it out. You've got to kind of take your time, work your way through it, repair the bridges, sort the stuff out, get back, use your tank. You slowly work your way out to one side, and then you've got to do the same out on the other one. Gets maybe a bit repetitive because there's not that much variety. It does have, like I said, some similar elements to Silkworm, because in the use of both like a ground and a helicopter to take on the enemies. So like Silkworm had the Jeep and the helicopter, this has the tank and the helicopter. But this is not a simple side-on scroller like Silkworm was and just going from left to right. This is, different and asks more of the player. And by the looks of it, it predates Silkworm as well. Silkworm came out, the only date I could find for it was 1988. Doesn't say when, what month. This is early 1988. I can only presume this is coming before it. This is a well-presented, well-engineered and well-designed game. Completely unknown to me. I never played it before, and certainly enjoyed my time trying to get to the end of the levels and get rid of the nukes. I do intend to actually return to this. I'm going to play this again because it doesn't feel like it doesn't have a horrifying difficulty level, and seems like a game that you could actually complete, with a bit of effort. And that to me is a bit refreshing right now, considering some of the horror, punitive nightmares we've been playing. This feels welcoming, and like with a bit of perseverance, I could see myself getting through this. So I'm going to give this a bit more of a crack and a bit more of a go, because I did enjoy it, and I felt like I was learning as I was playing and figuring things out as I was getting around it. Zapped gave this 93 and 91, yeah. And I think it deserves that. I think this is a really, really good game. I really enjoyed this. What did you think?
Yeah, same. I've always liked Battle Valley, and I've got particularly fond memories of the music because it is exceptionally good. So there's a lot of things to like, and again, mostly the same. Well, pretty much the same things you've liked about it. The graphics, I think, are really good here. Nicely drawn, good animations. The scrolling really smooth. Could be a little bit faster maybe, but it's all right for what it is. Music and sound effects are all excellent. It's nippy. It's got a nice feel to this game. Very arcade-like. There's a couple of games it sort of reminded me of that we played that weren't as good as this. One of them was where you had to transport these people sort of left to right all the time. There was another game we played where you had to repair the road for the vehicle as well. This is the little hints of other games in here, the logic, but they've taken the good parts.
Mask? Was it the first Mask? No, G.I. Joe or something? It was one of those.
The Mask, there was one of the Mask, but it might have been Mask, or was it Mask 2?
Mask.
Was that horrible?
It wasn't Mask. It was another kind of anime. It was some other.
Yeah, you played a tank, like a tank that ran on the ground, and
you had also had a helicopter as well, or something that you controlled as well.
I can't remember what it was. But
what was it?
But there's little things like that. So it's borrowed. But when we see a game that has obviously borrowed some of the elements from other games, and of course, that's going to happen. We're into it's reaching to the point where we're hitting the thousands of games mark now. So of course, the games are going to start to be derivative and based on perhaps other logic. But they've made the good idea real, which is to pick out the things that worked out of that and iterate on them in a better way, not do what a lot of games do, which is pick the crap bits and make them worse. So there's a good game in here. I like the dual idea of controlling the helicopter and the tank, and they control similarly, so there's no learning curve. There isn't a horrible gravity thing pulling the helicopter down all the time, or no, there's none of that. It's just to shoot them up and done in quite an innovative way, and I like that about it. And I think the controls, I thought they were good enough for £3. I mean, I don't know. I think perhaps the arcade logic is the thing that works against it a little bit, because maybe it's just, I don't know. I didn't always feel like I could shoot and blow the things in the way I wanted to. I don't know, but maybe that was just the way I was playing it. But at the same time, I still had a real blast with it. I'm not sure what the tactics are. Like you say, you got to think about this. You could just get the tank and just scoot all the way off to the left and blow everything up. But that's not really going to work.
You've got broken bridges to get over, so you can't.
That's what I mean. So you've got to think about how you're going to plan this thing out a little bit, which is quite good. I think perhaps the one thing I would say is perhaps it relies a little bit on the same repetitive logic.
Yes.
So the progression is something that you don't really feel like you're getting anywhere sometimes. It just feels like it's sort of you're going on and on and on and on and on to the left or to the right. And maybe there's a little bit of that, but I'll forgive that for the £3 that this costs. This is a good game. And there's a bunch of really good thing going off in there. And an auspicious start from a bunch of obviously quite talented people. And of course, at the musical helm, you've got Charles Deenan and Jerome Tell. Well, those two are phenomenal musicians. And this is a good example of the kind of power that they're going to come up with, and that we're going to start seeing them come up a lot more in games from here on in. So And that pleases me because I really like them. So yeah, Battle Valley, all good. We've used the Battle Valley music in our background music for this podcast since the beginning. So it's often been there. So that tells you that I consider it one of the great ones. So 91%. Yeah. I think maybe it's a silver medal, isn't it?
Yeah.
$2.99. Oh, another really good budget game. So the budget bonanza at the moment, because we've had some crapola, Fruit Machine Simulator, no. Battle Valley, yes. Yeah. Zybex, yes.
Yeah, we had that Zip and Osmium last time, didn't we?
Yeah, no, they were both, no. Osmium. No, Battle Valley gets my vote. It's one of my picks of this episode, I think. That and I'd love to say IO, but I love to look at it, but I just don't like playing it. So it would have to be Zybex and Battle Valley are my picks of this particular episode if I have to pick. But it's not been rich pickings, has it really, for the past couple of episodes? Anyway,
no.
Battle Valley, thumbs up. Well done. Good stuff.
That other game we were trying to remember I knew it was based on a figures, Action Force.
Action Force, that was it, yeah.
That was the one, wasn't it? Yeah, it's Action Force.
Yeah. Action Force, yeah.
There we go. That's it. That's your games for this week. That was 8. So what did we look at? We looked at IO, which, hi-ho, it's so hard. It's
too hard.
Just too hard. It's too hard for its own good. Masters of the Universe, the movie. That's not good. That wasn't good.
No.
Fruit Machine Simulator, awful. Sidewalk, no. 2 games with confusing maps and confusing navigation systems.
Yes,
don't make them confusing. We looked at Zybex, which we liked, which was, budget sidearms, but done well. Point X, which was full price Devious, so maybe a game out of time.
Yeah.
But still okay. Question of Scruples, which is a question of why.
Yeah, don't do that.
Why? And then finally Battle Valley, which introduces to the maniacs of noise around a very good and interesting shoot 'em up with some decent stuff going on there, nice visuals. I'm probably with you. Battle Valley and Zybex probably the pick of that lot. 2 good budget games. Yeah, nice stuff. As ever, if you wish to support us and support the podcast, you can do that. I know that at the moment, who knows what's going on with the economy? Who knows?
It's a roulette.
Who knows? But nothing to do with the mini budget that happened last Friday.
It's nothing to do with the mini budget because it's an emergency measure. But don't worry about it. It's nothing to see here.
God, I'm annoyed at the minute.
Everyone in Britain's annoyed at the minute. Anyway,
if you have some money left, if you have some money left and you wish to help out the podcast, you can do that by heading over to patreon.com/zapped to the past. There's a £1 level, which obviously is just £1 a month, and it helps us out, and we love you for that. Or there's the £4.50 level, or your equivalent dollar, $4.50 at the moment, or whatever. And so for that, whatever it is, you can get access to our Discord, early access to episodes, ad-free, and things like that. And so there's loads of stuff going on, and that would be really cool. And obviously, it helps us out massively. So if you wish to do that, please do so. That would be great. Next week, what have we got coming up next week, Graham? Next week, we have Ikari Warriors. Don't know about that one.
Did that have a rotating controller on the arcade? Did I imagine that?
It did have a rotating controller. Yeah, it had 2 controllers, right. I think. One for moving and one for rotating. Right. Sub-Battle Simulator. I've imagined, I think Ikari Warriors...
Tell me that isn't a Codemasters game at full price. It can't be.
It is a full price game. I don't know if it's a Codemasters one, though. I can have a look, but I don't think it is. It's got simulator in the words. I never tweeted. It probably is. David Darling's somewhere behind that. They were like, we're just going to call it Sub-Battle. And he just came in and went, Simulator. Call it Simulator.
I bet he's got a bloody toilet roll simulator.
Well, what would that do?
What wouldn't it do? Is the question you have to ask.
It wouldn't simulate a toilet roll. No, going by some of their other simulators.
No, you see, those are the words that Mr. Double D doesn't hear.
He doesn't.
No.
Double D.
There's nothing that can't be simulated, remember.
True.
That includes you.
Well, he wrote Scruples, simulating everyone. Mini Putt, which is a small golf game, and then up against World Tour Golf.
Ooh, that's interesting, though. New golf games is always interesting.
Yeah, we'll see what's going on in the world of golf. The Hunt for Red October.
Oh.
So we've got 2 sub games, 2 golf games. Test Drive, which seem to remember not being very good. Slane.
Control the car with a dot. Control your car with a dot.
I don't remember, but I'm sure.
You will owe the pain.
Slain, which is another 2000 AD.
I thought I was going to say, is that 2000
conversion.
AD?
And finally, Gauntlet 2. It's not the Deep Dungeons, it's just Gauntlet 2.
Just Gauntlet 2, yeah, the second
Just Gauntlet 2. That's it. So that's what we've got coming up next week. And obviously, we'll be looking at the fun-filled world of TV as well, and what was going on in TV. So who knows what was going on in March 1988. That's it. That's it for this week. You got anything you wish to add, Mr. Raddings?
No, I don't. I'm just going to go for a game of Scruples. The real version, not
the real version.
It's foolish Commodore 64 nonsense of a game.
You are tasked with making a Commodore 64 version of the game Scruples. Would you do it?
Oh, the irony of getting that as my first card.
It would be, wouldn't it? Oh, there we go. So, as ever, we'll leave you on that. You have been listening. No, I have been. So, let me get this right. I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham. I'm on top of a big track heading out into the distant sun, Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past. And we will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @Zaptuther, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.